Try to be not as crotchy as you normally are.
Hi, everybody. Look who's here.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
How's everybody doing?
They let him into Canada again. Oh, boy.
Uh-oh.
It's a miracle.
Yeah,
Oh, I see Nick C.
I do.
hiding behind his monitor.
Yeah. See his flag.
How embarrassing. Okay. Let's see.
Hi, Tim. Hi, Mike. Hi, iHall Boxes.
How's that volume?
How does that sound to you guys? Low?
Still low.
High?
Yeah, because it sounds low for us.
That was 4 reds on the pappy there.
Oh, really? Okay. I'll try to get red over white. You're all right.
Southwest low altitude warning.
Exactly. Yeah. How do you do that, man? I was like, jeez.
Yeah, I know. It's terrifying, isn't it?
Oh, man.
I mean, if I did that in the sim, I'd be mortified.
But
At least
it's
I'm
like,
not gonna-
it's not hard. Just have your altimeter set properly and dial that into the mode control panel and just make sure the autopilot's on the right mode.
How's that? Still low?
Still a little low.
Then let me adjust over here. See all the things I have to do?
I know.
Liz?
It's pretty
A
scary,
lot of
actually.
things going on. So I'll bump up
Bump up the volume, bump up the volume.
That one.
Okay.
That's better.
Okay. And let's see. And
In Hartford, Hereford, Hampshire.
sound good?
In Hartford,
Okay.
Hereford.
Stop. Don't do that anymore. Stop.
Stop it.
I don't know, but it sounds choppy in my end. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just me, but it's just like when
really?
you play this. Yeah, when you play the song, when you play it sounds like
was.
it's choppy.
Oh,
And then,
Yeah.
I guess it's our
Really?
internet.
no, because your normal voices. have
Yeah,
been
your
absolutely
voices are fine. It's just when you play the music.
Well, why is that?
I don't know. Nick C's on. He might know.
Well, there he is. There's
Kidding.
Nick. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
480 down.
Well, it's not so much the down. It's the
No, I
up.
know. I'm waiting till they go over there. This is me, though. What are you getting? Well, you're getting the Ethernet. You should be getting more. Oh, it's
No,
low.
our up is not great.
Oh, it's climbing, but it's not what it was. But you're on Ethernet. You should be.
Okay, well, let me see. I'll do a test.
It's 25.7.
The down is really good.
Quebec Cloud from Boucherville.
I decided to automatically choose this test server. That's pretty good. So I don't know why. I know what's going on. That's the reason why we have a little latency.
Oh, look who's here. John and Brenda.
Oh, how about that?
The Van Dorfian Twits. I'm saying what they're saying. Hi, guys.
Hi.
That's where Jeff spent the weekend.
It's our new show sponsor.
Exactly.
Excellent. Wow.
You'll hear
done.
their
Thank you.
ad later in the show. It's great.
Okay, I'm going to do something here.
So we're going to start without Steph, but Camacho. Is Camacho around? Oh, there he is. Hi, Nick.
I'm here.
There he is.
Sorry. I was paying attention. Hi, Micah.
I know what was going on. Okay. So I'm going to do this. Now.
No. Oh,
Okay.
yes. That's much
Now,
better.
can we still hear everybody on StreamYard?
Talk, guys.
Check 1 2. Check 1
Yeah.
2.
Good,
Okay.
good.
Nick Anderson? Speak. Yeah.
Okay.
Kamach.
Yeah.
For some reason, they're only coming in on
Yeah.
the left channel, but that's okay. We
Okay,
can
that's
still
good.
hear you.
Oh, yeah. I'm not.
Good, good,
I'm not echoing
good.
anymore.
That's why we were getting that. Sorry, I set
That's
up
okay.
the
That's all right.
software mixer incorrectly.
That's okay.
Now, I would have assumed only Europe would come in on the left channel. Everyone else and Americans would be on the right channel.
No, Canadians would be
The
on
hard
the left
right
channel.
and channel.
We're on
in
both
fact.
channels because we are even-handed.
Oh, right
Okay.
now.
That's on there.
Okay, now I think we need to hear maybe a little bit more of them on
Them speaking?
StreamYard for in our ears here. So I'm going to bump up this a little bit.
Okay.
How about now? Talk, guys.
All right, check 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Hello from London.
That's enough.
That's plenty.
That's plenty.
How's Wichita there? Check in Wichita.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good.
maybe a little bit more from you.
A little bit
Is
more.
it all the way up?
More power? No.
More pump up the
I
volume.
just feel like every time something is turned up to the maximum, something bad is happening. Like
Oh,
the quality is being degraded or something because we're asking.
I'll let you know
It's
if
like
you're
Taxing it around at full power
Overmodulated.
with the brakes on. Yeah, I know. It's just not good.
something's wrong.
What's going on here?
Have you got your little countdown thing ready for the?
No.
No.
Does it appear so?
I don't know where to look. There's so much going on.
Let's so we've done a sound check. I mean, how does everybody feel about our various levels in the chat room?
You guys sound good.
Micah, Mike Kuipers. Anybody else want to comment?
By the way, happy belated birthday, Mr. Main Man Micah. I believe that was
indeed.
yesterday, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. Glad you could make it here after recovering from your birthday bash.
No comment from the chat room yet.
Okay.
I just moved my mic, so mine's going to be all different again, probably.
Okay.
Sounds okay to me.
Okay. Sounds good. Good. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
Tim Van Ram says levels okay on his end,
Okay.
and he says, "Is your recorder on?"
Where
Mike
does Tim
Kuiper
Van Ram
says
say
sounding
that?
good.
What'd you say, Nick Camacho?
Oh, level's okay. He said that a while ago.
Okay.
Never mind. Sorry, I'm talking to myself.
Okay.
Have you got your recorder on?
You'll be able to see that I do.
Okay.
Oh, wait. No, I don't want to start it there. Sorry. Delete selected. No, nothing selected. Damn it.
Don't delete something. He's getting a little wild with.
Okay. Save all. And then
Okay.
now I'm going to. No.
No.
Hey, Rick, do you have your schedule sorted out for the rest of this month yet?
I do. What's up?
Well, I'm going to be in California and then going through Phoenix on my way home. So
You got it on.
we
Good.
might need to
Okay.
try to link up if we can.
Yeah, man, absolutely. We'll talk about that, but absolutely. We're still living out of California for the most part. Try not to make it to Phoenix unless I really have to, because it's.
I was going to say,
So-
at this point, you just want to wait until like October, don't you?
Well, and I was telling Liz, it looks like we're going to be done around October, right when it starts to cool down again. So yeah, perfect timing.
Yep.
But
Neil?
yeah, it's pretty brutal there without the AC, and and a lot of times we can't turn it on because they're doing a lot of the sanding, and they have to redo a lot of the drywall because just a long story, but they can't turn on the AC because
Yeah,
of
that's
dust
fair.
and all that. So Phoenix is like a day thing, if that. Get the hell out of that place. Whoever
warmer.
thought it'd be a good idea to start a town there. It's like, jeez.
It was probably a little bit better before the what was it? Macro. What do you call it? The climate, macro climate or microclimate? there?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, it's always been a desert. Hey, where'd
That's
Jeff go?
true.
There you go. There he is.
True. It's
So
true.
we're just going to keep
It
it
is
on Liz for the whole
No, don't do that.
show. Okay. Okay, so I have the gestures off, which is good.
Yeah, I
Got the
did
recorder on. The gestures
do
are
too.
on.
Recorder is on, and just for the hell of it, I'm going to turn that recorder on as a backup.
I'm not touching anything.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Do we need to talk about anything that we're going to talk about before we start the show? Just for everybody watching the video, and it's going to be tough. I have to remember to look right there at the camera instead of looking at my laptop camera because the camera's a separate camera. Liz, normally when we start the show after we've done the introductions, is in the background and in our ear. But since we were doing it like this today, she's going to be sitting right next to me, and you'd be able to hear everything she was saying in the back channel. So she is going to be giving me cues and that kind of thing while we're doing the show. You might actually. Oh, ow.
That kind of cute.
Yeah.
That's a key.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
right.
it'll be a little bit different than what we normally do, and yeah. So
Get your counter ready.
okay, I'll do the countdown. Let me get my. Let's see.
Got this ready. That's ready.
Countdown. And then hopefully Dr. Steph will be able to join us at some point.
Yeah, everybody at one time. Woohoo!
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Okay, where is that? Here we
There you
go.
go.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
What time is it?
Let me see. Am I ready? Okay. Yes.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door.
It's the airline pilot guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 626.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the airline pilot guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door with your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Liz's studio in Toronto. Today's show is recorded on the 7th of August, 2024.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the airline pilot guy. It's flying, flying, flying. With the airline pilot guy.
In today's episode, a fatal crash on the first day of Oshkosh, and an unlicensed pilot is facing charges as an unusual defense. Also ahead, more news, your feedback, and today's plane tale, the Guinea Pig Club. With it all settled in, tray tables, seat backs in the upright and locked positions, electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 626 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He is an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation. 1010 wins on ABC. No, ABC. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted. Is it sounding like crap?
Yes.
No?
No.
Yeah, so
Sounds horrible.
Captain Nick thinks so, and Camacho
Yeah,
thinks so.
Yeah, it doesn't sound very well.
Okay, and how about our actual speech? Is it also messed up?
Sounds like you're talking through a tin can.
Yeah, your
Oh, boy.
speech, speed seems fine. It's not like it's lagging, but
Yeah.
your quality is bad. The video was
Yeah.
kind of lagging.
All
There's
right.
You sounded fine right before we started. I don't
Yeah, it sounded fine.
understand what just happened.
Yeah, I don't either. Let me
Now you
see
sound good.
if I can maybe close some of the apps that I got going. I was afraid of this. I was trying to do it on the normal machine that I use, the Mac Mini, but it was there was all
Acting
kinds
up.
of issues, and so I switched to this MacBook Air, which sometimes, if it is undergoing a high CPU load, will start, get hot, and then it starts throttling back on the CPU.
yeah.
That might be what's happening, is that's throttling back on the CPU.
Oh, Neil says I sound a bit weird also.
No. Well, I wonder if it's StreamYard.
Great.
nothing we can do about
Oh,
that.
Van Dorf's saying it's good.
Okay. Well, you got to be up here in Canada for it to sound good.
You guys are back to sounding fine. It's almost like you saturated your machine there for a second, then it cut
Yeah.
back down.
Yeah. Okay, that could be. That's believable to me. So I'm closing as many of the applications open that I can.
You going to start over?
I can just start in with thank you, Radio Roger.
Okay. All right. Good. You'll fix it.
Yeah, fix it in post.
Tim's saying it's okay now.
It's okay now.
Mm-hmm.
Let me close this one. Oh, no, I can't quit that.
Let me close
I was afraid that
StreamYard.
was going to
I
happen.
just closed Stream Deck,
Yeah, don't do that.
which is what I really like to have on the show. And I need to bring that back. Okay.
He overclosed.
Yeah, I was a little bit too aggressive with my closing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Itchy trigger finger, huh?
What is that?
Makes for compelling watching.
Seems like you probably didn't mean to do that either.
Bye. Thanks for coming.
All right, so it's now us.
So long. Yeah, I know. We've hijacked the show.
Yeah.
Take
The
us to
inmates are
Cuba.
running the asylum now.
And thank you, Liz. That was really profound, what you just shared. And yeah, I guess
Yeah.
we'll just
And
move
that,
on now.
I'm glad I shared. Yeah.
There you go.
So
That was
I
for
opened-
your ears and your ears only, Jeff.
a tab opened up, and I didn't want that tab, so I just closed the window. But I realized that the StreamYard was also in that window.
I was kidding when I said, let's close StreamYard, but then you actually did it.
I did. I actually did.
Did you get Stream Deck back?
I have not. Let's see. Okay, let's try this again. Oh, this is so much fun. Recent items. Let's find. Do you see Stream Deck in there? No, I don't either.
I don't see them.
This is one of those apps that you have to like individually open up.
Okay.
Isn't it called Stream Deck?
It is.
Why is it not showing up?
I don't know.
Stream? Okay.
There it is. There, oh, it's better. Okay.
Got it. Okay.
All right.
Now I'm just going to close this window. Okay. Now, anything else you see here that I don't need to have running?
I don't know.
I need Audio Hijack, Reaper. I need the browser. I need Virago. I need Keynote.
I don't really think you need this open
Okay. I can close
because
that.
I'm looking at the.
Okay. And so I can,
You guys aren't using Unity, correct?
No.
yeah, we're not using it
Yes, we're not.
because she's right here. Okay.
Tim says, I wonder how the professional podcasters do this.
I don't know.
Much better, Tim. They do it much better.
Shut up, Tim. We don't like you.
All right. So you're going to start with thank you, Radio Roger.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go to a certain point here,
Okay. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
like right about there.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Sure.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Try this again and fingers crossed that it sounds somewhat decent.
Right in lock positions. Electronic devices powered on.
Not
I'm
so
Radio
good.
Roger in flight 620.
No, I think
They didn't
saying
like it.
no. They didn't like it.
No, we
It
didn't.
doesn't like the music.
No.
No, it doesn't like the music at all.
Yeah. You know what? Add it in post.
Yeah, but we have a lot of things that are going to
Oh,
require
that's
being
true.
played by the music player, like the Plaintail and
Oh, yeah, that's
our
true.
sponsor,
Yeah,
a commercial.
Our sponsor. Yeah, that's important.
Okay, let me do this. Let me play something and see how this sounds. It's going to be the Plaintail.
The
Nope.
pilot's
Sa-
playing
same.
tail.
No, they're saying it's
Yeah,
just
that's
just
doing
bad.
the same.
Bad.
Oh,
It's bad.
that's no good. All right, let me look at the thing. It might be because it's up to 200%. Let me bring it down a little bit on that and
Try playing it
try it again. I know it's going to be a little bit lower volume, but just let me know if it sounds any better.
You're listening to the
No, not that. Here we go.
The old pilot's playing.
How's that?
The Guinea Pig Club.
No, it's still going.
Still
words of its
up and
Doing
down
bad
in
stuff.
Volume, yeah.
Well, El Crapo. Okay, let me do this then. Let me play it through the Finder and see if it sounds any better. I mean, it's going to be a little clunky for me, but I could do it this
Well,
way. if
could
I
one
need
of
to.
us play it? Would that be better?
No.
Okay.
And you don't have a setup to route audio from your computer into your interface to send to StreamYard.
Just say no.
Do you? I don't think you do.
Just say no.
I don't know. I assume not.
Plain Tales. The guinea pig. Okay, I'm going to play this via the Finder to see if it's the app Virago that's causing the problem.
No,
Still bad? Still bad.
still bad.
Well, then that means it's this machine or it's the connection. I don't think it's the connection.
I don't think it's a
You know what I
connection
can
at all.
do? You guys can stay there on StreamYard, and then I can just completely shut this thing down and restart it and see if that
Okay.
works better.
Do what you got to do.
Okay. So let me stop recording on Reaper. Everything sounds fine over here. I know that doesn't give you solace there
Right.
on the...
Doesn't make for a good interactive show.
No,
That's for sure.
sorry. Excuse me.
I am on a Windows PC. I hold boxes.
Yeah, but Nick's having trouble too. He's on Apple.
Yeah.
Yes, save the project. Okay, and I'm going to stop audio hijack.
Well, now what do we do?
I don't know. I was waiting for Nick to entertain us.
That's funny
Well,
because
I'm doing a search, a final flight, the search for DF626. I'll come back to you. I'm busy.
okay. That's funny because when after takeoff, and a half hour after takeoff, you usually reach cruise altitude and you have 16 hours ahead of you, and I usually go, well, now what do we do? There's nothing else to do for another 15 and a half hours.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah, it is. It is indeed. But I find it that so it really depends. But if you break up the flight in half, it goes by a lot faster. So, well, 16 is a little long to break it up in half because being up in the seat 8 hours is a little long. But if the flight's like 12 hours, you break it up 6 and 6, easy. First.
You mean like you
First-
get up out of your seat once?
Well, so you go to the back, and then you just lay down in the to take a nap in the bunk, and then 6 hours is 6 hours is it's a good night's sleep for a lot of people, for most people actually, and until you go back there, sleep for 6 hours, and once it's your time to go back and fly, then you're pretty rested. So usually what I like to do is, if it's my sector, I'll fly the first half. And then by the time it's, my turn to go to the bunk comes up, I'm pretty tired. So I'll sleep my 6 hours or whatever. And then I'll wake back up about an hour and a half prior to landing, and I'm, perfect. So it's like, I've got my night's sleep right there. And even though the flight was 12 hours, 13 hours long, whatever it was, technically it was only 6 hours, and it's pretty quick. So Yeah.
Seems like a much better scenario than that guy who was flying a 172 to Honolulu yesterday.
Oh my goodness, can you imagine that? Oh,
No,
jeez.
I cannot. I cannot
Gosh.
imagine that.
No. No. I did when I started out, I did airplane deliveries, and I flew the one that sticks in my mind is a 206 from Monterey, California to Key West. And that was a long flight, obviously, but I stopped along the way, and it was great. But if you go from the coast out to Honolulu, you're up there, and you can't land, and you're going west. So,
Yeah.
in the northern hemisphere, so your ground speed is like you might as well walk.
Yep.
So, oh gosh, no, thank you. No, thank you. Well, as long as we're doing this, I'm gonna get something to drink. Be right back.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh. All right.
Let's play some music.
Let's, see what's happening. Fingers crossed.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our
No.
side of the cockpit
No,
door.
you're not liking it.
Okay.
Oh, no. I was going to say it sounds better, but still not great, but then it just sounded bad.
Oh. Excuse me. Weird. Why is it doing this? Any ideas, peoples?
Nope. Not a clue, I'm afraid.
No, me either.
It's probably something obvious
No,
that I'm not seeing.
the chat room is
Oh,
saying.
Peter
it says-
Tarantelli said it sounds good to me. Maybe it's a problem on my end then.
Maybe it's
Well, I'm
StreamYard.
hearing it over here.
Oh, you're
so,
hearing it poorly? Okay.
Yep.
I think it's maybe StreamYard, do you think?
Could be StreamYard.
But you came back into StreamYard.
Yeah. Let me just check my.
Is there a
StreamYard
setting you
settings.
changed which might affect the way it plays music on StreamYard, like that thing of quietening the background?
Yeah, so I'm going to change or check right now.
Okay.
And I'm looking at audio settings. Let me see how this sounds. Okay, that sounds good. The only thing I have is reduce mic background noise. Let me see. Let me undo that. Maybe, you know what? That's probably what it is. Because remember before I said there was like a buzzing noise before we started
Yep.
recording, and I hit that reduce mic background noise. I bet because I'm trying to play the music, it thinks that that's background noise.
That's just
And it's
what
trying to get
occurred
rid
to
of it.
me. Yeah.
Yep, I
Try
bet that's
again.
it.
Try it again.
Very good,
Try it
Captain
again.
Nick. Okay, here we go. We're gonna listen to something to see if it's fixed now.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
Oh,
The
perfect.
view from our side of
Perfect.
the cockpit door.
Nick.
Bingo.
That's it. Cracked it.
Nice.
Bingo, baby.
Well done.
Okay.
That was
Thanks,
it.
Nick. Good call, man. You're amazing.
Hey, no problem.
Okay.
All right, what are we gonna do here?
Let's just start over from
Start over,
scratch.
Yeah, I'll start over.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, sorry everybody.
Get your counter up.
Just kidding. There we go.
Yeah, just kidding. I'm sure there's probably something. Oh yeah, I do need to start one more thing here. Actually, I need to go hit play right there.
Is your recorder
and
on?
then I think so. Let me put that right there. Make this window a little bit smaller. I don't need to have that big darn thing there. And slide that down and make that a little bit so I don't touch that area.
Yeah.
And let me go ahead and present that now, because I'm going to have to do a video, I think, on the very first one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Oshkosh.
Sharing your screen. Aren't you sharing your screen?
Yeah, share screen and window and just media, share. And then I'll just go ahead and be. What is that?
Motorcycle or something.
Or some kind of a power tool.
Someone's doing a little manscaping.
Yeah.
We do appreciate it, but not now. Thank you.
Poppy.
There's a time and a
did you do
place.
something?
That's Liz's boyfriend
Yeah.
getting ready for their date.
Yes. No. Is your recorder on?
I'd like to answer that question by saying yes.
All right. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. As long as you're
Okay.
happy, I'm happy.
Hang on. So Peter's saying that my volume's higher than the rest of you guys's.
Okay. Well, then turn it down then.
So I'll turn it down. Easy fix. Hang on a minute. Let me just do a quick. I've got the window open here. So
Stuff will be here before we start. That'll be good.
how's this? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Say
Even
something,
that.
Captain Nick.
Peter's saying good. Okay.
Okay.
Okie dokie.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right. So we're good. So I
How
can
was he able to say that so quickly?
I don't know. Just
He's
let it
that
go.
good.
Okay. He's that good.
Counter,
Okay.
Counter.
Ready?
Ready?
Chill, baby.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 626.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door, with your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Liz's studio in Toronto. Today's show is recorded on the 7th of August, 2024.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Get your light and he's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, a fatal crash on the first day of Oshkosh, and an unlicensed pilot who's facing charges as an unusual defense. Also ahead, more news, your feedback, and today's plane tale, the Guinea Pig Club. To get all settled in, tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions, electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 626 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in New York City. Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a former U.S. Air Force pilot and retired captain for Delta Airlines. And joining us from his studio, not in Kakalaki, and here we go.
Hereford and Hampshire.
This gentleman is a professional photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot. He's a retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Hey, Jeff. Great to be back on the show with nearly everybody. Just Steph to come. By the way, 626, our show number. There was an aircraft registration DF626, Wellington bomber, crashed in the Second World War. One of the survivors was severely burnt and became one of the original members of the Guinea Pig Club. And that's the story we're going to have in today's Plain Tale. Not the story of him, but the story of the club.
What a guy.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Can't wait to hear that.
Canadian as well.
Oh, even better.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And also join us from his mobile studio in Cincinnati, world traveler, airplane mechanic, dog rescue volunteer, fitness hound, and international air freight captain. It's Captain Miami Rick.
Hey everybody, happy to be back. It's been a little while, and like Nick said, it's almost everyone, and hopefully Steph will be on board soon, so it will be everybody. It's going to be a good one. Looking forward to this one.
Great to have you with us, Rick. And
Thanks, sir.
Also joining us from his home studio in the air capital, low and slow pilot, AMP mechanic, old airplane enthusiast, and engineer in the aerospace and defense industry. It's Nick Camacho.
Hey, Captain Jeff. Glad that I could be here with everybody else.
Yeah, me too. We all are. And also, last but not least, sitting right next to me here in her studio in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer, it's Liz Piper.
Welcome to my humble studio, Jeffrey.
It's wonderful. Can't wait to tell you all about it.
Yeah.
We've been having a blast. All right. But before we talk about what we've all been up to in the last few weeks, let's do a little bit of aviation news. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
What'd you say?
Do what?
Just not me on the camera.
Okay.
Stand by for news.
Quick timeout while I start up the camera software.
I believe there may be an error in the show notes.
Uh-oh.
It looks like
What?
1A, the title doesn't match the text.
Okay.
Does it?
Unless I'm looking at the wrong thing.
Is that like the carpet on matching the drapes?
No.
I don't know.
Matches the text.
Yeah. So the fatal accident, United States of America.
No, it doesn't. You're
Yeah.
right, Nick.
But you know what?
The video does.
The video is going to be the right thing.
Okay.
So we'll just have to use the video for our source information.
Sorry about that, guys.
That's it. Producer's fired.
Yeah, that's fine. Bye.
Just kidding. Can we still stay here in your beautiful home to record this?
You're
show?
fired, but can we stay here,
Yeah.
please? Thank you.
Like, hey, could you get me another beer?
Anyway, sorry, guys. Okay.
Hey, no apologies necessary, although you've already given several. But let's see here. Yeah, the Canadians, they just can't stop saying they're sorry. Okay. So what? Let's see here. Let me go to. Oh, you can still do it from your control panel. Yeah. Put Jeff. There we go. Perfect. And then why don't we do it like this so we can see everybody's happy faces? Okay. And then I'll go over here and hit return. And then we're going to. The first item in our news is a video from Oshkosh. Well, actually, that's aviation. Real Aviation Communications. They use liveatc.net audio. Oshkosh AirVenture 2024, 22 July, 1713
Blowing
UTC.
up high, half mile southwest 5th, Rocky Wing, say type. Land
Coming
there.
in on the rival.
All right,
Need
Lance
a
there,
rival.
you're gonna, you want preferred 27 or 36? We'll take 36. Roger. Once you reach 5th gear, you can start a right turn, follow that east-west road, keep the microwave antenna off your right side. Start that right turn, now follow that road over to 36, left base 36. Start that right turn. 36, here we go. Lance affirmative 36, left base runway 36. Left base 36. Right, nice to have Lancer. You can monitor tower 126.6. Welcome to Oshkosh. 26, program, thanks. And vision demo for the red square.
Vision demo, affirmative. 36 right, clear to land, at or after red square. Low wing half mile south of the tower. Wide now just a little bit. You're going to be following a flight of 2 L39, L29 in the right base, opposite right base.
Yes, right.
Follow the 2 aircraft, runway 36 left, clear to land, at or after yellow dot.
At or after, welcome. And understand that was 36 right for Old Crow.
Old Crow, yep, 36 right for the overhead.
Okay.
And the Warbird's rolling out on runway 36 left, continue straight.
And B-25, do you see an aircraft down to your left?
Stand by. Do not. What are we looking for?
Possibly a downed aircraft off the approach window 36 left.
Yeah, we got it. He's on fire just off of our left side of the tree line.
Roger, thank you.
Just south of that quarry area.
Thank you.
And Old Crow, going to have you, need to turn you out. You're going to have to be at 2,000. They'll proceed back to Warbird Island. Just use caution for the B-25 that's overflying northbound of the over the airport.
Back out to Warbird Island, and I've got the B-25 inside Old Crow.
All right, thank you.
No worries. Old Crow has the aircraft that's down inside also. All right, everyone, we're going to go in the hold here for the fifth drive. We'll be going in the hold here. I'll have instructions for you shortly. Flight at 2 up high, about 1.5 miles, 2 miles south of Fisk. What's your type? Bonanza A36. Roger, Bonanza flight. We'll be entering the hold here. Once you reach Fisk, it'll be a left turn. You're going to do a left turn heading 270, and then you're going to go back to Green Lake. All right, 270 is a great. Hey everyone, this is there was an incident at the airport. This is going to be a lengthy hold, so if you don't have the fuel, you need to make other plans here. We got a low wing, half mile southwest of Fisk. Rock your wings. All right, that's a good rock. You need to turn left, 270 left turn, heading 270. You're going to go westbound, and then you're going to join the Green Lake transition for the hold again. You're going to hold from Green Lake there.
Tower lands on the left base for 36. Can we descend? Unable to descend, you're going to have to hold your altitude and just stand by one. We can't bring anybody to the airport now. Standing by.
Everyone, we're entering the hold. Once you reach Fisk, you're going to turn left heading 270. You're going to go to the west, and then you'll come back down, and you're going to rejoin just west of Green Lake. We had an incident at the airport. This is going to be a lengthy hold. We're expecting a lengthy hold.
And anyone inbound from Fisk for Oshkosh right now, you're going to need to follow any diversion procedure and find another airport to land at right now.
And Oshkosh, Old Crow, do I need to divert?
Old Crow, yeah, I would divert. If you want to go to Fond du Lac, that's probably your best bet. It's going to be a little while.
Yeah, could you give me the tower frequency? It wasn't in the notice.
Fond du Lac Tower is 120.4.
120.4, thank you. See you in a bit.
Sorry.
That happens. Everyone inbound on the Fisk arrival. We are currently in the hold. We are in the hold. This airport is shut down at the moment. We're expecting a lengthy hold. Obviously, we'll keep you advised. Keep an eye on your fuel. If it's going to be a lengthy hold, we got to figure something out. Keep an eye on your fuel. We'll let you know. You can keep following the transition up. Once you hit Fisk, you're going to turn left heading 270. And you're going to go westbound for a while, and then you're going to join that hold. You can see the hold on page 5. Page 5 of your notice. VFR Fisk arrival to Osh. You'll see the hold there. Once you reach Fisk, turn left heading 270, and you're going to start back from Green Lake. So it's a Green Lake transition hold.
Okay. The video goes on for a little bit more, but you kind of see what's happening here. We are in a situation, and this is a great example, and we've talked about this a lot on our show, where it might be a beautiful weather and everything is going so smoothly, and then something happens right before you arrive at the airport that shuts the airport down, and then you have to go into the divert mode. You may have alternate fuel, you may not. And so things kind of get a little bit interesting. What? Oh, you're pointing to this? Okay. So let's go into a little bit more detail about this from the Aviation Safety Network. This involved a Lancair Super ES. That's a home built, I believe, right, Camacho?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. And there were 2 occupants, and they both passed away in this crash. And it says about 12:12 Central Daylight Time, a Lancair was destroyed when it was involved in an accident near Oshkosh. The pilot and pilot-rated passenger were fatally injured. The airplane was operated under the provisions of Title 14 Code of Federal Regulations, Part 91, as a personal flight. According to a preliminary review of automatic dependent surveillance broadcast (ADSB) data, the airplane departed Trenton Mercer Airport, TTN, Trenton, New Jersey, about 7:04 in the morning, flew to Hartford Municipal Airport, Wisconsin. The airplane departed Hartford about 11:45. A preliminary review of air traffic control recordings and ADSB data illustrated that the airplane was on the Fisk arrival when the air traffic controller instructed the pilot to widen his turn for a flight, an L-29, a flight of 2 airplanes, an L-29 and an L-39, that were landing in front of him. The pilot acknowledged in sight, then initiated a left turn. The pilot was then cleared to land on the yellow dot on runway 36 left, and he acknowledged the clearance. The airplane impacted a soybean field south of Road November, about 1.5 nautical miles from the approach end of runway 36 left. A post-impact fire ensued and destroyed the aircraft. The airplane impacted on an approximate heading of 060 and came to rest on that same heading. The main wreckage included the fuselage, empennage, and both wings. An examination of the airplane revealed flight control continuity to both ailerons, the elevator, and the rudder. Camacho, have you heard anything more about this crash that might give an indication of what may have happened?
No, nothing concrete. You know, I think the overwhelming opinion or idea is that he probably got slow and had trouble controlling the airplane, but I haven't seen anything specifically associated with that.
Yeah, I'd heard that the ADSB data showed that when they made a turn out to kind of provide a little bit more spacing, like almost like an S turn to the right, they, I guess, or maybe not that so much a factor, but the fact that maybe they were focusing on this flight, L-29 and L-39, weren't paying attention, not a good cross-check of their speed, and the ADSB data, I believe, showed the airspeed got down to something like 56 or 53 knots, or maybe even miles per hour. It must have been knots. And that the Lancair stall speed is above that speed. And so that people are thinking that maybe they just got distracted, weren't focused on their airspeed, and got a little bit too slow, and the airplane just stalled and spun into the ground.
I've never actually flown in Oshkosh, obviously, but it just seems like it's so much work. There's like so much going on because it's I mean, you have to keep. I mean, your essay is going to be on point. You have to know where to look and who to look for while flying the airplane, while not, and you're not allowed to use the entire runway. You got to land on a spot, and it's just. And it's all visual. There's no instrument guidance to any of this stuff, and so it's just, man, it seems like a lot of work.
I wish we had somebody here that had some experience. In
I know, right?
Oh wait,
we do. It is. So I have a pretty varied experience with it, right? I've done it in everything from a 75 mile an hour airplane to a 150 knot airplane to a big twin engine airplane, and they all have different gotchas, right? So like when I was flying, I've flown in there in the Luscombe and the Champ. Both of those airplanes are that's almost so the Luscombe. So the way that the approach works at Oshkosh, for anybody that doesn't know, there's you basically like fly over a point out out away from the airport, and then they basically funnel everyone into the airport from this one point. So you've got all these airplanes kind of approaching this one point, and you fly over this point and you get in line and you go to the airport. And you fly, if you're able to, you fly at 1,800 feet and 90 knots. If you cannot fly at 90 knots, there's what's called a high approach, which is at 2,300 feet, and it's either 120, I think it's 135 knots. But down in the 90 knot conga line, what you end up with is everything from Cubs and Champs that can't do any better than 75 miles an hour or whatever that is, like 68 knots.
Yeah.
All the way up to big singles like Bonanzas and Saratogas that can get it slowed down to 90 knots or 80 knots or even 75 knots. But at some point, you may end up behind a person that it just doesn't work out. So
yeah,
that's the first thing to think about, right? And when you're in the Luscombe or the Champ, the nice thing about that is you're not near the edge of the envelope of your airplane, right? You're basically hauling the mail in as fast as you can go. So you don't have to worry about things like getting slow or anything that you can control, right? Your big concern is you're kind of like a sitting duck there. You're hoping that everyone around you is paying attention. You don't have some guy behind you that comes up and eats you up from behind. So that
now, I'm sorry. So before you go on, because this is fascinating to me because I've never obviously never done this. Is this in a so is ATC? Is this in a radar environment? Do they? So
all
there's
visual.
Okay.
So they've got a trailer. So there's, it's called the Fisk approach, and you fly over a little town called Ripon, and they have a ATC trailer down there, and they've got guys with binoculars and guys with radios.
Whoa.
And they're pointing you out.
Holy Moses.
And so that's the positive control is, right, as you're flying up, they'll say high wing or low wing, rock your wings.
Okay.
And when you rock your wings and they acknowledge that it's you, that is essentially like their form of positive control.
Right.
And now they have ADSB now, so I have heard them usually when somebody is doing something wrong, like being a jerk, trying to cut people off or trying to do something. I have heard them say like November 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go back to the end of the line or something like that. But usually it's just they'll say, high wing, rock your wings. They'll call out Bonanzas because the V-tail is notable, right? But they'll say like low wing with the wig-wag lights, rock your wings.
Do they, with a V-tail banana, do they say the doctor over Fisk? Turn
right, the doctor or the lawyer?
right. So that's how it works. So then that is the ATC control, and you're going in, and there's two. I would imagine, I've never looked at a radar screen in an ATC facility, but there's got to be too many dots on it for them to be able to do anything with the radar.
Right. Okay.
So then you fly in, and as you get close to the airport, they split you off, and you basically like go around the airport. There's an east-west runway, and then there's two north-south runways. So the people landing on the east-west runway fly west of the airport, and you're either on I assume a right base for runway 9. That's the only runway I've never landed on. But if you're landing 27, then you fly west of the airport, and then basically like enter on a right downwind north of the airport to land on 27. If you're landing either 18 or 9, then you turn right and you're flying south of the airport, either on a left downwind for 36 or to cross the departure into the runway and enter a left downwind for 18. So that's the challenge when you getting to the airport is getting in line, getting behind an airplane that you can match speed with. In my case, when I flew the Bonanza in, the problem is if you get a Champ or a Cub or something like that up front, then you get kind of this accordion effect, right? Where the Champ's going 70 knots. Well, then if there's like a 170 or 172, they can kind of get it slowed down to, like 70 or 72 knots. And it's probably not as comfortable for them as it is for the Champ or the Luscombe, but they can do it. And then I'm back there. I can get my airplane slowed down to 70 knots, but it's not comfortable, right? From not just a handling standpoint, but the engine gets hot. There's lots of things. So you got to kind of get sequenced. And then the next issue is once you get sequenced, if you're one of the bigger airplanes and you're flying, closer to the edge of the envelope in terms of control speed and that sort of thing, as you get close to the airport, you really, really have to pay attention to getting yourself set up for the approach well, because there's a couple of approaches, and I think this guy was landing 1.8, correct? No, he was landing
3.6 left.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So 3.6 and 2.7 are both challenging because it's essentially a short approach. So when you're flying into, man, I wish I had the chart up. I should have been.
I do have a question about. I know that they have the two runways, right? 3.6 and 2.7, but they're using the terminology 3.6 left. Is that because they use the parallel taxi
as
a runway? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. I was going to try to pull it up real quick, but it's probably too late. Yeah. So essentially what you're doing when you're landing on 1.8, because 927 is north of 1836, you're turning a pretty short final for runway 18. So you got to keep it tight. You're fairly low, and you don't have a lot of time to react to any issues that go wrong. So that's one where they really try to make a point of saying, make sure you're keeping your speed up, make sure you're unloading the airplane. So when you've got to make that short final, dump the nose as you start loading up the airplane. Don't just roll into it and pull on the airplane and stuff like that. And so that's what usually gets people is you get this combination of probably having to fly your airplane slower than you're used to, right? When people are out flying around and they're landing on 5,000 and 6,000 foot runways, it's not hard to get comfortable or maybe a little
complacent.
Yeah, complacent is a good word for it, right? And if you're 5 or 6 knots fast, it doesn't really matter because you're going to burn up an extra 500 feet of runway, and it's not a big deal. But then when you get put in this box where you have to manage your speed better because you have to land like you said, Rick, at a certain point on the runway, you have to turn your base at a certain point on the airport. You have to be going a certain speed because you're following other airplanes so closely. You get into this little box where if you're not really proficient in your airplane, there's lots of little things that can bite you.
Absolutely, and it's like a whole different world because for me, all I've ever flown, obviously I flew small airplanes, coming up during my formative years as a pilot, but now flying, the smallest thing I've flown is a 767, and the instrumentation that we have on board, and in the day in and the day out, you're talking about sequencing and keeping distance from other airplanes and stuff like that. So for me, I rely heavily on the TCAS because you can see the airplanes that's ahead of you, in front of you. Airplanes like the 747, a heavy 747-8, depending on wind conditions, you can be doing. Actually, the other day landing in Miami, we came in on the tail end of that tropical storm, I think Debbie, whatever it was, and so our approach speed plus our additives gave us a VREF of almost 180 knots. Which it's Miami, it's sea level, but when you're landing at almost 180 knot ground speed, and you have an airplane in front of you, that's a way lighter airplane than you are. You have ATC telling you to keep a certain speed, but then you see the guy in front of you, getting closer and closer and closer to you, and then he's landing, he's not getting off the runway. So it's just, I just find it fascinating that these guys and gals can it's do so much and just visually, and fly their airplane, keep their situational awareness on point, land on a specific spot, and make it look easy. So it's just like, my hat's off to you guys. That's amazing. That's really cool.
And probably folks that don't really get a chance to do a lot of flying, as professional airline pilots do and military pilots do. And this is not second nature, but it's something that's more common to us. So that even just throws another factor into the situation that kind of makes it a little bit dangerous. But I've listened to and watched videos of people going in and coming in on the Fisk arrival and everything else. It's just it's nuts. I mean, even to somebody like Nick and I, who have experience in the military doing pretty complicated formation procedures and trail procedures and everything else, I'm thinking, dang, this is almost more complicated than that. And yeah.
Oh yeah. But I mean, for the conscientious pilot, there's an awful lot of aids out there. I mean, there are plenty of YouTube videos explaining the intricacies of everything you're going to do. There's this wonderfully descriptive NOTAM they put out each year detailing exactly what you want to do. And if you've done your homework and done a little bit of, broomstick flying, sitting in a chair in your kitchen, imagining how you're going to fly this particular approach and what you're going to do if things change or go wrong. I think most guys of reasonable ability will be able to do this, but it depends. You've just got to have your wits about you as well.
It really puts a damper on a wonderful event like Oshkosh, which we'll talk about a little bit later here in our show and the Getting to Know Us segment. When something like this happens, like, was it the first day or like the day before the first day, Nick?
I think it was the day before the first day.
Yeah, I think that definitely put a damper on things. I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think one important thing to note. I know there's a lot of people that are. Sorry for my son in the background there.
No, it's ambiance.
I know there are a lot of people that do not want to fly into Oshkosh. They don't think that it is wise to fly into Oshkosh, and I understand that viewpoint. And
right here,
I would.
I'll just drive my home.
Yeah, and if
I'll hitchhike.
One of the great things about Oshkosh is that they've got a really good infrastructure in place, right? So like if you don't want to do the approach, you don't want to mess with all the people, you can fly into Fond du Lac. That still gets pretty close. It still gets pretty hairy there. But there are all these places you can fly into: Wisconsin, Madison, Milwaukee, Chicago. So there's no reason that you have to fly into Oshkosh if you don't want to.
But you know what? I feel like it's like a rite of passage almost for a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree, and a lot of people look at it that way. The other thing I was going to say is, if you look at all of the accidents and incidents,
Half an hour now.
I don't know the details of every situation there, but I would say that it is almost never the case of having too many airplanes in one space, right? It's like that may be a contributing factor, but the vast majority of accidents that happen at Oshkosh are people that get overwhelmed by the situation, right? And they either like this situation may look, they lose control of the airplane, they're flying too slow. Last year there was a midair between a helicopter and a ultralight. When the report came out on that, people said, "Oh, this is one of the issues that are wrong with Oshkosh." Well, the guy that was flying one of those airplanes was doing exactly what it explicitly said not to do in the notice.
A specifically banned maneuver.
Yeah. Right. So I feel like if you, there's no doubt there's more risk to flying to Oshkosh, but I feel like if you are proficient in your airplane and you follow the rules, it totally can be done safely.
I agree. Yeah.
But it is for sure higher risk. And if you are not on top of your game, the margins are just smaller, right? So stuff that you could maybe recover from flying into not a busy airport when you've got 5 knots of extra speed, or you've got a half an hour more fuel because you didn't have to hold for an hour. All of those things become more relevant.
Yep.
If I could just make one last comment, having been up to see those air traffic controllers and again listening to them today, I have to admire their professionalism. They are just so good at their job and they've got their finger on the pulse all the time. Very impressive bunch of people.
Really are. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to our next news item from justice.gov. Let's see. From the U.S. Attorney's Office, District of Alaska, a federal grand jury in Alaska returned an indictment charging a Palmer, Alaska man with illegally operating an aircraft. According to court documents, William Marsan, 56 years old, is allegedly the owner and pilot of a private aircraft in Alaska. In June 2023, so a little over a year ago, the Federal Aviation Administration received a report that Marsan did not radio his intention to take off from an airport in Palmer and operated the aircraft against the flow of landing traffic, resulting in a near mid-air collision with another aircraft attempting to land. Law enforcement investigated the June 2023 incident and discovered that Marsan was allegedly operating an aircraft without a valid license or valid registration. I think that's pretty much a common thing. We've already talked about pilots not being certified in Alaska, airplanes.
Hey,
not
did he end up in Oshkosh? Or,
I don't know. If he had, probably nobody would have noticed. Yeah, so they also discovered he had allegedly obscured the identification number on the side of the aircraft with stickers. And no, they weren't Airline Pilot Guy Show stickers that were obscuring the numbers. Yeah, I know what you were thinking out there. As a result of the investigation, the FAA issued an emergency order of revocation of the defendant's airline transport pilot certificate. That's a new twist, which required the immediate surrender of his pilot license or the filing of an appeal of the decision with 10 days. He allegedly failed to file an appeal or surrender his license, but has continued to operate his aircraft, darn it, until the date of this indictment. He has charged. Okay, so where's the good stuff, Liz? Okay, keep going. Okay. Let's look at this next article from, I don't know where it's from, but it doesn't matter. A Palmer man whose flight it's from Alaska Public Media. A Palmer man whose flight certificate was revoked after a near collision last year is facing federal charges. He has continued to fly and made claims that he was a sovereign citizen. Let's see. It goes into a little bit about the stuff that we've already covered. He received a second-class medical certificate from the FAA in 2019, but he didn't renew it in the following year. He also canceled the Cherokee's aircraft registration in 2022. He told the inspector, quote, he was a free citizen and did not need a pilot or medical certificate, adding that his aircraft had been deregistered. According to the indictment, sovereign citizens, who sometimes call themselves free citizens, are a fringe group of people who reject state and federal law, sometimes claiming to be citizens of self-defined nations. In 2012, Alaska Peacemakers militia leader and sovereign citizen Schaefer Cox was convicted as the ringleader of a 241 plot to kidnap or kill two Fairbanks area federal officials for every militia member arrested or killed. Okay. All right. So let's see. Later last summer, the indictment against Marsan said 2 FAA inspectors saw his plane at the Willow Airport. They said the N and its painted identification number on each side was partially covered by stickers, one of which had the appearance of the APG show. Of a flag. Appearance of a flag. Yeah. So. I think we thought that this was an interesting story because not only a new twist in the not certified category of Alaska incidents is this guy just decided that he's really not part of our country and doesn't recognize the FAA and all that. So that's interesting.
Well, the fact that he has a second class medical certificate tells me that even though he has an ATP license, he's probably not
that's true.
An acting airline pilot.
I would hope not.
Yep. That would be How would that work?
I don't know.
Interesting.
Hey, I have an active airline transport pilot certificate.
Yeah.
I haven't utilized it in a while. I'm not current in anything, but I still have it. They haven't revoked it from me yet. They're still after me, I think. But
just get an airplane and buy some stickers. That'll do it.
Well, kind of buy a bunch of APG stickers. Stick them on there. All right. You guys ready to say anything else about that, or you move on to the next
Have
item?
you covered what his penalty might be?
No, I have not. What a
3 years in prison and $250,000 fine on each count.
That could get expensive.
Could get very
Now, I wonder
expensive.
if he's going to use the bank of his country to pay the penalty.
Yeah, I think he probably
The
is.
currency.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Is an ATP not an airman certificate? Because they charged him with operating an aircraft without an airman certificate. And then the first thing they did was they took his ATP.
So I think they revoked it, and then he flew anyway. I think that's where the
that was the
operating with
order
an
of events.
airman certificate thing. Because ATP is the highest level of airman certificate there is. It's like the PhD of piloting.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. That was my first
I
comment.
like that.
Oh, I like
PhD.
it.
PhD. Liz is writing down that potential title.
Look at that.
PhD pilot. I like that.
PhD of piloting.
Okay. PhD of piloting. Okay.
The second comment I had was down at the bottom. It says the prosecution isn't opposed to Marsan being released before trial, but ask it to bar Marsan from flying unlicensed or flying any unregistered aircraft. So are they saying, hey, we'll let him go, but just as long as we ban him from breaking the law again?
Just promise you won't break the law.
I promise I won't do it. Although he's probably just like spitting at them. He's like, don't tell me what I can and cannot do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably not making a good case for himself.
Yeah.
Next.
Okay. Next, all right, we have a video about a crash in Nepal, which is quite interesting. I'm not sure how much of this we're going to play. If you'll put that, Liz, on the stage, and I'll set it up. And you ready? Yep. Here we go.
Now, the pilot appears to be the only survivor of a plane crash in Nepal's capital. The aircraft crashed during takeoff in Kathmandu, killing at least 18 other people on board. Media are reporting that the plane skidded off the runway before then bursting into flames. Rescuers put out the blaze. It crashed just before lunchtime on Wednesday. We understand it was headed to Pokhara city in central Nepal. Well, we can bring in Koshraj Koirala. He's the editor of the English language publication Republica Daily. He joins us now from the Nepalese capital, Kathmandu. Kosh, can you talk us through what exactly happened here? It's obviously very much a developing story.
Well, this accident actually took place at 11:14 a.m. this morning, and this took place shortly, the second after it took off from the TIA runway. We do not know the exact reason behind this, but so far as like what we know so far is there were 19 people on board, and captain has been rescued safely, and he's currently undergoing treatment at local hospital, the Kathmandu Medical College. And the 18 dead bodies have been retrieved from the incident site, and they have been kept at the TU Teaching Hospital for postmortem. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, Home Minister Ramesh Lekhak, and other senior government officials had reached the incident site immediately after the accident. And we are told by the airport official that the plane was flying to Pokhara. It was a test flight, and all the crew members, all the passengers in the aircraft were the staff of Saudi Airlines, and there were no other regular passengers in the aircraft.
There have been issues in Nepal when it comes to poor aviation safety records. I understand there's been a bit of a boom in terms of air transport there, especially with a rise in tourism in recent years. Has there been sufficient maintenance, sufficient training to keep up with that?
Yeah, this has been one of the big issue, and international community also has been raising this issue time and again. And European Union has put Nepali aircraft in its blacklist in terms of aviation safety. So there has been efforts being made by Civil Aviation Authority of Nepal, but then again, these accidents have been occurring repeatedly, especially in the domestic fleet. There have been accident time and again, and this has become one of the big issue. And we media people also have been raising this issue because this is likely to affect our tourism business as well.
Of course.
Yeah.
In terms of what's being done by government, there have been, I know, issues in the past, particularly because of the types of runways in Nepal, tabletop runways that are obviously in quite treacherous terrain as well. This was not one of those. So will there be an investigation? Will there be accountability?
Yeah, maybe. The government official, they have said that they will form a probe committee. But as you
Okay, I was hoping that this video was going to show some of the security camera video that I saw regarding this accident, which I'm sure that many of you have seen, where I believe it's a CRJ, I'm not sure what model, took on, oh, it doesn't show it, okay. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, we were thinking that I might have it in this video. But did you guys see the video, or at least the photograph of the security camera that showed the airplane basically in a knife edge, a 90-degree angle of bank shortly after it was taking off and before it finally just nosed down and crashed? Did any of you see that? I don't hear you, Rick.
What's going on here now?
No, I don't know. It says you're muted on StreamYard. Do you want me to unmute your mic?
Unmute him.
Okay, try it, Rick.
Check 1 2.
Yep, hear you. Yep.
Okay, interesting. It was unmuted here. Okay, no, I did see the video.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if we have any information regarding this. Why don't we just do a quick search?
There's a YouTube video.
A YouTube video? Does it show the thing?
Yep.
Okay.
Get that to you.
Well, just copy the video URL and just send it to me, messages, and then I will play it and share it and all that kind of stuff. Okay. And that is right there, and I'm going to just play that right here. Okay, so, oh, that's not pretty. Okay. This is the video that we should have shown. Let's see, let me just share my screen. Oh. Just too many windows in this small little screen. So I'm going to stop that screen sharing. I can present this and Chrome tab, Nepal plane crash share. Okay, if you'll make sure that that is on the stage. I can do it.
I'm all over the place here.
Okay, I can do it. I got it. And here we go. Find anything else now? Yeah, the rest of the footage is showing the crash scene. But here, I'm just going to kind of freeze frame this thing at that, like right there. I mean, that is, I'm supposed to stop. There we go. That's pretty crazy. What do you all think would cause an airplane to do that? Would an engine failure? I mean,
no, that airplane. I've never flown one of those, but the engines seem pretty much centerline thrust to me.
Yeah, they're almost inline thrust.
What could do that? I mean,
uneven flap retraction.
Wake turbulence, perhaps. Uneven flap retraction, exactly. Asymmetric flaps. That'd be in a CRJ. They do have leading edge devices, so that could be an issue there. I didn't see another airplane taking off before that. There's no reports of another airplane taking off before that one, so I don't think wake turbulence But yeah, I'm with you on that one, Nick. That could be flight controls, definitely flight controls. Yeah,
It's pretty extreme, isn't it?
Very much so. Yes.
Did I understand the news presenter saying that there weren't like regular passengers on board, but it was all crew members?
It was all well, not all crew,
Staff.
the airline staff, right? Right. Well, the good thing is that well, not the good thing, but I guess the positive thing here is that the captain's the one that survived, and so I don't know if he's still with us. I hope he is, but he'll be able to debrief the investigators. Then that, along with the data recorder, should be able to put this one to bed relatively quickly, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Peter Tarantelli in our live audience says the nose gear looks to be up. How in the... It does. I agree with him. Maybe it's just the camera angle, but how in the world could it possibly be up at this point?
Yeah. I think the mains look to be extended to me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously, if the mains are extended, the retraction sequence, which is controlled by a sequence valve, and gets a little bit more involved in that. But yeah, not usually. Well, all things being normal, when the mains cycle, the nose gear will cycle as well. So.
Yeah, this is just a strange one.
Very,
I'm
very
not sure
bizarre.
If there are any updates? Okay, no updates on Aviation Herald or any of the aircraft.
I didn't see that the pilot had passed away. So.
Oh, okay, so Liz says that she hasn't seen that the pilot has passed away. But
I heard he was injured and he might have lost his sight, but not that he died.
And I would imagine that it's likely that most of his injuries were related to burns. Looking at least looking at the video and the wreckage.
Jeez.
We just thought we'd mention that, and hopefully we'll hear some kind of a report regarding this in the future to clue everybody in. Okay.
Last but not least.
Last but not least, we have this, an interesting one. Southwest hasn't really been in the news a lot, and we haven't talked about incidents and accidents on our show very much recently. I should say incidents, not accidents. But anyway, let's see. We have a little video, but let me just say a little bit about this before I play the video from Aviation Herald to Southwest Airlines Boeing 737-8 MAX.
Oh, it's a MAX.
There you go. That's why. Registration November 8841 Lima, performing flight 425 from Columbus, Ohio to Tampa, Florida, had been holding en route due to weather at Tampa before continuing the approach to Tampa. On final approach to Tampa's runway 10, which I'll say is not a common thing, ambient pressure was stated 3014 inches of mercury by tower. The crew was advised of a headwind gain of about 10 knots at low altitude and a bumpy ride. The aircraft descended below minimum safe height when tower issued a low altitude alert. They leveled off. About 50 seconds after the low altitude alert, tower asked whether they were planning to go around, which the crew affirmed. Tower canceled the approach clearance, instructed a go around. The aircraft initiated a go around from about 370 feet AGL above ground level, about 4.2 nautical miles before the runway threshold. So normally we'd be about 1,200, 1,300 feet.
Yeah, so it's 3 to 1, right? So about 1,200 feet.
Yeah, so they were a little low.
A little bit.
And that was going up.
Yeah, you're right. It probably was when they were actually on an upward vector. The aircraft climbed out to safety and diverted to Fort Lauderdale for a safe landing about 40 minutes later.
They went to Lauderdale. Okay, wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. ADS-B data suggests the aircraft descended, okay, we just talked about that, about 150 feet measured to standard pressure, which puts the aircraft, I don't know what this is all about there. Anyway, they were very low. The weather at the time, decent visibility, 9 statute miles, light thunder showers, and a lot of clouds, overcast 15,000 feet. Lightning in the distance, all quadrants. So a lot, thunderstorms in the area, as they mentioned here in the narrative. So we do have and just before I go to the video, another clip source, 1 mile at a time, a blog. The headline there is, it descended to 150 feet above Tampa Bay. That's pretty low.
I think the 370 feet is the actual height corrected to its pressure setting, assuming.
I was going to say that, because if you look at it, you subtract 2992 from whatever the reported QNH was, is about 0.22, and that's 220 feet plus the 150 is the 350 that it's reporting there.
Yeah. Okay, well, let me play the video, shall we? And you ready?
I don't see the one.
Oh, you know what? I have to. Yeah, I'm sorry. I did something different. So let me put what you're looking for back up there so you can select it, Liz. And there it is, if you'll select it. Okay, here we go. VAS Aviation again. Real aviation communications using liveatc.net audio. We talked about the incident here. Talks about the weather and the approach.
Heavy. What were the flight conditions on final day? It was pretty bumpy. Probably plus or minus 10-ish knots or so. I mean, it was definitely manageable, but it was bumpy.
Okay, right that. JetBlue 125, do you copy the ride report?
Affirmative. We clear to land 10, JetBlue 125.
Blue 125, affirmative. Clear to land runway 10, and FedEx just landed, report a gain of loss of 10 knots.
You got ground speed mini.
Thank you for the update.
Come on, Airbus.
Gateway 2 with you out, our outside sexy.
We love ground speed
Tower,
mini.
runway 10, clear to land.
Clear land 10, Gateway 2.
Gateway 2, the previous arrival reported gain and loss of 10 knots on final bumpy ride, and the wind at Tampa 110 at 13, gust 24.
Very good, sir. We'll give you a report.
Pretty much down the runway. Not bad.
But pause there for a second, because I'd like to talk about that for a second. So
hang on,
when we
I'm trying to find my little window to pause. I'm sorry. And I'll rewind it. Okay, I'm paused. Go ahead.
No, I just want to talk about, so when it's super, super windy, so normally we'll on airliners we fly an approach at what's called VREF, right? It's a reference speed. It's 1.3 times VSO, so it's 30% above your stall speed, right? And that depends on your weight and your flap setting and a whole other things. And usually when things are normal, we add +5. So it'll be, say your VREF is 130 plus 5 knots additive. Your V approach is 135 knots. Now, when it gets really, really windy and bumpy, like here, so your wind was 110 at 13, gust to 24. What we do to account for that erratic wind and the changes of wind, we have to add half of the headwind component, which in this case 13, half of that. Let's call it 7 to be conservative, and then the entire gust factor, which from 13 to 24 is 11, so that's 18 knots altogether. So if this guy's flying a VREF of 130 knots, your V approach is now 148 knots to account for the wind. I just wanted to mention that because it's a little bit different than flying in still air, and it's consequential, I imagine.
All right, so they should be holding a little bit higher speed than they normally would to account for all that.
Yep.
All right.
FA Tower Southwest 1256, runway 10.
South 1256, Tampa Tower, previous arrival reported gain and a loss of 10 knots and a bumpy ride on final. The wind at Tampa 110 at 13, gust 24, and runway 10, you're clear to land.
Clear to land 10, thanks, Southwest 1256. Hey, Tower South 425, we're with you for 10.
South 425, Tampa Tower, reported gain and loss of 10 knots on final bumpy ride, and continue for runway 10.
Continuing for 10, we got you, Southwest 425, thank you.
We got
Roger,
you.
the wind 120, gust 20. Southwest 425, runway 10, clear to land.
That's the accident aircraft, I believe.
10, clear to land,
Incident.
thank you, South 425.
South 1256, turn left at November 2, and contact ground point 7. How was your ride on final?
Right,
November 2.7, Southwest 1256. Actually, 3 miles and in with moderate rain and just a light chop. The bad stuff is probably 5, 6, 7 miles out with the gust.
Okay, roger that. Thank you. And Southwest 425, lost alert, check your altitude, Tampa's altimeter 3014.
3014, thank you, Southwest 425.
And Southwest 425, you plan to go around?
Yeah, we are. We have to go Southwest 425.
Yeah, I guess we should.
425, roger, cancel approach clearance. Go around runway 10 for now. You can fly runway heading and climb and maintain 1,600.
1,600. We're going around Southwest 425.
So it's 425. Fly your press heading and climb and maintain 3,000.
I'll maintain 3,000, that was 425.
So it's 425. You can contact departure 119er Point Manor.
199, that was 425. With your 3,000.
That's 425. Tampa, thanks. And reason for the go around?
We want to pick up the airport there for a little bit, and when we get it, do you mind?
So 425, what's your request then now?
Yeah, it looks like we need to divert over to Fort Lauderdale.
425, clear to Fort Lauderdale via radar back there. Fly heading 130, climb and maintain 12,000 now.
130, and up to 12,000. Southwest 425.
Okay, Southwest 425 and many other flights were diverted to their alternate airports. It was hard to hear what he was saying, but when the reason that he gave for the go around was that they couldn't see the runway and they got a little low, I believe he said. So
well,
I mean,
yeah, if you're 100 feet off the ground, several miles out, it's going to be hard to see the runway.
Yeah, now some people were saying or surmising that perhaps there is a like a causeway bridge on that part of the Tampa Bay there that heads over toward like St. Peter, Clearwater, St. Petersburg, and maybe they saw the lights in the bridge and thought that was a runway, and they just, which is kind of very similar to what is maybe surmised by the low altitude incident at Oklahoma City when they were awfully low, way too far out, that they may have been looking at some roads that, if they were lighted a certain way, would kind of resemble the same runway alignment or arrangement. But yeah, it's a little concerning. What are your guys' thoughts?
I'm looking at the chart right now, and I'm very familiar with Tampa because I used to fly in and out of there all the time on the 7.6 doing the Amazon stuff, and I never did land on runway 10. It was always either the one right or one left, or the opposite, the reciprocal sign. And looking at the bridge here, it looks like the bridge that connects St. Pete to Tampa proper could be on about I don't know, it looks like about a 060, so it's not exactly east-west, but no. I can see how that could be the issue, perhaps. Although if the guy's lined up with the runway and he's tracking the localizer, like the way I think he was, looking at that video there, it looks like he was tracking the localizer inbound. Mm-hmm. The bridge is quite a ways south of his position for him to...
I'm not sure if it was a localizer. I think they were doing an RNAV approach.
Well, I mean, what I mean is, the
center line guidance.
Center line of the runway there. So that, if that's the case...
But if you're right, it seemed like they were tracking pretty correctly to the runway. But if it's my point is, if it's an RNAV approach, it's likely it's a non-precision approach procedure.
Yeah, but RNAV, but the course guidance on RNAV is A and P.
The vertical guidance.
The vertical guidance, exactly. Right. So yeah, you do still have, as long as the approach is loaded properly, and this is really, really important here, and it's written in very, very clear terms in the operations manual and the flight crew training manuals. You are not to modify an RNAV approach in any way. And the only way you can fly an RNAV approach is if you can pull it up from the flight management guidance system, the flight management computer database. If you can pull it from the FMC database, then you can fly it. You can't build one.
Yeah.
You can't fly because the glide path needs to be coded into the FMC for the FMC to track it. So yeah, that's basically the only way to fly an RNAV approach vertically. But yes, you are correct. An RNAV approach is a non-position approach because it doesn't provide you with a glide slope, an electronic glide slope, as an ILS does, even though an RNAV does have a glide path, which is generated by the flight management computer. So, and I'm looking here at it's funny you mentioned that they may have gotten confused by the bridge, because I'm looking at that jogged my memory here. And if you look at the approach chart for runway 9, to this day, it says to be careful not to mistake the Dolphin Expressway 836, which is right just to the south of runway 9 for the runway itself. So yeah, that does still happen.
Sounds like the conditions were pretty hairy.
Lots of
convective activity there. And it's just a natural human thing, I think, to when you're looking out that window and you're getting bumped, obviously it was bumpy, because normally if it's a little bit bumpy, we don't even mention it. But for them to be talking about it being bumpy, it was probably considerably bumpy. And, raining and lightning, all quadrants, and looking ahead and seeing something that we're lined up and it looks like.
Yeah, and then the other thing with flying an RNAV is that the sequence. So you need to push the buttons on your mode control panel in a certain sequence, at least on Boeing airplanes. And the flight management, the automatic flight director system in the 737 MAX is very similar to what I'm used to on 74s and 777s and 76s. And there's a certain sequence in which you need to press the buttons, right? So on Boeing airplanes, we have what's called LNAV and VNAV. LNAV stands for lateral navigation. And when you engage LNAV, you're basically telling the autopilot to fly the lateral track loaded in the FMC, in the flight management computer, right? So the first button you push when flying a non-position approach on a Boeing is L. Then the second button you push is V for VNAV, and VNAV stands for vertical navigation. And so that's where you have to, that's where you tell the autopilot to follow the vertical path as loaded in the flight management computer. And then the next thing you do is you have to what's called intervene the speed. So you go L, V for VNAV, S for speed. You intervene the speed, you push the speed button there, and you dial in your final approach speed or whatever speed you have to fly. And then the last button or selection you have to make is A for altitude. So you set your lowest altitude of the approach. Outside of the final approach fix, you will set whatever the bottom of the approach is. So your MDA, you'll set that in your altitude window. And then once you go past the final approach fix, you'll reset that up to your missed approach altitude. And so the sequence that you have to operate the autopilot in is very different to that what used when flying an ILS, which is what we fly the most. The other thing is that you can press the buttons, but you also have to make sure that the autopilot's actually doing that. And that's why it's so important to look at what's called the FMA, your flight mode enunciations, which is right in front of you on your primary flight display. So you press a button, look down at your primary flight display at your FMAs, and make sure that you pressed LNAV, make sure the thing is tracking LNAV. You press VNAV, make sure the thing is tracking VNAV, because you may press the button, and it's happened to me. Sometimes you don't press it hard enough, and you thought that you did, but you didn't. So you have to make sure that you are on the mode that you intend to be on. So,
of course, in this case, if they had not pressed the VNAV part of it,
exactly,
they would have stayed at the altitude. The airplane would have.
Well, not only that, but let's say they were going to. Let's say they were high, because I don't know what happened prior to them getting low. Let's say they were high on the profile, and they went down on flight level change, which is in McDonnell Douglas talk clamp mode, and on Airbus talk open descent mode. So in that point, and in that mode, you're basically just going down expeditiously to whatever altitude you have set on your mode control panel. And well, why would they level off at 100 feet? Well, maybe because they went to flat level change and then they spun up the altitude on the mode control panel, leaving them without a bottom altitude and not checking, and they didn't check the vertical mode on the FMA. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to say. I don't
many
know.
things.
Oh, yeah.
So many variables here.
Oh, yeah.
Captain Nick, if they had been flying an Airbus 320, would they have not have been in the news, and we wouldn't be talking about them?
No, if they have misprogrammed the FMS, or they had visually acquired something that led them to believe that was the runway, then you can fly an airplane down. And I can tell you what, EPGWS is very good at telling you when there is terrain ahead. But of course, depending on their distance from the airport, the warnings may not be coming up because the EPWS knows you actually have to land. So it makes allowances for the fact that you're descending towards terrain. But the more sophisticated ones might have recognized that they were way too low for their position. Interesting. I am just trying to remember what approach they'd been cleared. Was it a visual?
No, it was the RNAV.
So they were flying an instrument approach.
Yes.
Okay. Because I was going to say, why would you be staring out of the window looking for the runway lights when you're flying an instrument approach and you're still out at 4 miles? I mean, you're a long way from your decision height. And what's more, on an instrument approach, one of you is watching the instruments, the other is looking out of the windshield to try and visually acquire the runway environment.
Exactly.
And that is part of the discipline of a well-organized flight deck. So I don't think it's got much to do with the aircraft type. I think it might have a lot to do with the way, end of a day, guys trying to just get in and relax, and they both kind of doing the same thing, perhaps gazing out of the window, trying to find out, is that the runway? Hey, look, what can you see? Interestingly, I don't suppose we have, if they went all the way to Fort Lauderdale, the cockpit voice recorder, do we? Would it have been overwritten?
Yeah, somebody was saying there are some suppositions that the reason why they went all the way down, well, it's not really that far away, but the reason why they went to Fort Lauderdale was to have extra flight time so that the cockpit voice recorder would be
usually these recorders hold it's a 2-hour loop on these new ones.
Usually, yeah.
You're going to Fort Lauderdale. That's maybe not even an hour, and then
no, probably not.
So I don't know.
It's an interesting one. There are a few visual illusions that could have caused this, but we're all aware of them. And if you're coming in a low visibility approach and you're expecting bad weather because the guys ahead have got it, you should be briefing the threats, and that should include any illusions you're likely to get on this runway. Should be in the airfield approach notes. It's all part and parcel of being a really good professional crew.
Yeah, I'm looking at the approach chart here. I'm sorry, go ahead, Joe.
No, I was saying it almost seems to me that they somehow lost track of monitoring their distance to the threshold. They must have thought that they were much closer than they were.
Perhaps.
Yeah. I'm looking at the approach here. It says LNAV and VNAV minimums, they have a position altitude of 436 feet. So the altitude that they would dial up on the mode control panel once they're cleared for the approach would have been 500 feet. So they would have dialed in 500 feet and held 500 feet until passing the final approach fixed there, Zexi, I think it's called, yep. And then you pick up it says it's a 3-degree glide path angle down to minimums of 436. So inside of Zexi, you dial up your missed approach altitude, which would have been 2,000 feet in this case. But then again, that's why it's imperative that you keep an eye on your on your FMAs. You got to know what the aircraft's doing.
What did you say the minimum descent altitude was? 400 something?
436 for LNAV and VNAV. So if you're flying an LNAV and VNAV approach, you can go down all the way down to 436. If you're flying an LPV approach, if you're authorized to fly an LPV approach, localized performance with vertical guidance, which is based off of it's more of an op specs kind of thing, but on an LPV approach, you can go all the way down to 272 feet decision altitude, which is pretty close to an ILS.
Yeah.
That's how accurate these things are. So,
I think I'm thinking what you're thinking, Jeff, in that the 436 and the minimum height we think they got to 370 isn't much different. It may be that they got to minimums, and when would the box shout minimums? It would, wouldn't it?
Well, so as one of the modes of the ground proximity warning system is to tell you minimums. So you will dial in your minimums on your primary flight display, and you actually set it through what's called the EFIS control panel, electronic flight instrument system control panel, that sits in front of each pilot. One of the knobs is for the minimums, which can be set to either baro minimums or radio minimums. In this case, would have been baro minimums, barometric minimums, right? This assumes that you are on the correct altimeter setting, and so the ground proximity warning system will usually reference the captain's minimums. Normally, and if there's some kind of failure, obviously the FOs will be referenced. But yeah, the GPWS will tell you when you reach minimums,
So
and you would not begin a descent to MDA outside of the final approach fix.
Interesting. So I'm just wondering if they started off at the wrong point, came down too low, got a minimums call, couldn't see a proper runway environment. They might have seen some bridge lights, but nothing that convinced them it was a runway and started to go around. They would have probably got down to around 370 feet.
Yeah. It's interesting to me because you have, when you're flying these types of approaches, you have the approach, a bird's eye view of the approach in your navigation display. You see each waypoint, and I do this. I will always, no matter if it's an RNAV approach or an ILS, whatever the hell it is, I'll always put the final approach fix on what's called the fix page on the FMC's fix page, so that I can see where I am in relationship to that final approach fix. In fact, for us, crossing the final approach fix is a mandatory altitude call to make sure that we're crossing the final approach fix at the published altitude to make sure that we are where we're supposed to be. So that's the last chance you get to check your altitude.
Yeah, there are lots of dotting the I's and crossing the T's that perhaps didn't occur on this flight, though. Mm-hmm. Whereas, the flight conducted by Rick there would have picked up any errors that they might have accidentally put in. Perhaps this crew weren't quite as disciplined. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was one of those situations where it wasn't pleasant, the weather there.
No.
It just shows that when they diverted, everybody behind them said, yeah, we're out of here too. Yeah, we shouldn't be playing here at this little playground. It's just getting too unsafe. Yeah. Okay. Anything else to say on that? Yeah, we do. We have somebody who looks like has joined us here. Hey, Steph.
There we go. It's a full
Hi
house
there.
room.
Yeah.
Finally. All right.
Although I think I might be tag teaming. Wait, wrong way. There we go.
Yeah.
Nick Camacho.
No.
Shoot. All right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Here, let me put you back down here, and then you guys can give yourselves high fives.
It's like the Brady Bunch over here.
Boom.
There we go.
Yeah. Tag team. So.
Hey, Nick, thanks for taking the time that you had to spend with us today.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
We'll catch up with what you've been up to, including what you did at Oshkosh. Last week or week before? I guess it's been a while now.
Before, yep.
Yeah, and I guess on our next show, unless you wanted to say something briefly about that.
No, I think I spent a lot of time with you, so you'll be able to cover a lot of it.
Yeah, had a good time.
But yeah, it was fun. Great weather.
Okay.
All there.
All right. Very good. Yeah. Somebody take a picture. The entire crew is
Wait,
here.
we all made it for a couple of
happened.
Yes.
Promise.
Brief moment in
It
time.
happened. Yeah. Cheese. All right. Thanks, Camacho.
See you guys
our
next time.
regards to your family, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right.
Adios.
See ya.
All right. So Miss Stephanie here, going to put you in that position, and then we're going to do this. So you're bigger than everyone else.
Oh, jeez. Thanks.
Yeah, sure.
Larger than life.
So yeah, busy day.
Yeah, it was busier than I thought it was going to be. It was mostly because there were just too many people crammed in one small office trying to see patients today, which I didn't know was happening until I got there. So limited resources, limited rooms, everything was behind. My apologies.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, it wasn't
Worked out
anything too taxing or difficult. It was just slower than it should have been. So
Okay.
Get to know him.
All right. Well, so let me do this. Push this little button here, which plays our little "Getting to Know Us" sound bite. And of course, that's the time of the show where we all get to tell everyone else what we have been doing for the last, or between the last show or the last couple shows, or whenever we were there. And so, let's see, who wants to begin this? Rick.
All right.
Oh,
wait, just real quick. Who do I send photos to for getting to know us? Is it you, Jeff, or Liz?
Yeah, you can send them to Liz. She said
Okay,
that she'll
will
be
do.
able to take
All right.
care of that. Are you going to be able to put them in the keynote?
I'll try.
All right. She said she's on it. Okay. Rick, it's been a while.
Been a little while
since we've seen you, and so we're so happy that you were able to join us today. And so
Me as
you
well,
get
thank
the
high honor, I
opportunity,
guess.
the
Yeah.
honor to
Thank you.
start off our getting to know us segment. So what's
Well,
you been up
it's
to?
been it's been a little while. I've been doing what I always do. Really, it's between the remodeling the house and then flying a lot. A couple interesting flights. I did a Dreamlifter flight about a month ago. I think it was 3 weeks ago or something like that, down to southern Italy for the first time in a while, and that was interesting because actually got to fly a circle to land maneuver, which is not something that we fly very very often on the kind of flying that I do, especially big 747s. We flew into the airport in southern Italy is called Taranto, on the heel of the boot there in Italy, and that's where we pick up a lot of the parts for the 787, the Dream liner, and we fly them across the pond and over to Charleston, where they get put together into airplanes. So flying in there, usually the weather is always wind out of the north, which means that we land on runway 35 there, which is great because it's got an ILS. It's perfect, so no problem there. But this time around, it was interesting. The wind was very very stiff out of the south, which is I've never seen before, and I've been flying into that place a lot. I mean, as an FO, and now as a captain. The thing with runway 17 is that there's no ILS going in there, and Taranto itself does not have a radar facility, and so once you get handed off from ATC there, from the upper sector down to approach, and then on a tower, you're kind of on your own there. You got tower looking out the window with binoculars, and giving you just telling you whether you're clear to land or not. And so whenever you find yourself in a place where there's no ILS or no instrument procedure, because there's no instrument procedure for the south runway at all. Like all the instrument procedures are for runway 35. You have an ILS, you have a VOR, you have an RNP and RNAV approach to runway 35 and all that, but there's absolutely nothing for runway 17. And so what that means is that you have to fly the procedure for runway 35 and then break off the approach into a circle to land maneuver. And what's interesting about this is that, how do we? And it was good that the FO had never done this before. An actual circle to land in a big airplane, and so I was explaining to him, kind of how we were going to fly the maneuver. And the most important part with flying any visual maneuver when you come back around and land is knowing where to begin the descent, because you need to be at a certain altitude, at a certain speed, at different distances from the runway, going back to the Southwest incident that we were just talking about. And so I taught him how to figure out what's called a visual descent point. And so basically a visual descent point is the point where where you can begin a descent and be stabilized all the way down at 700, 800 feet a minute, all the way to touchdown. And he didn't know how to do this. So I told him, well, what you do is you take your altitude, subtract field elevation, and divide that by 300. So if you look at the chart here, I'm going to do it here real quick. You look at the circle to land MDA is, so for us, it was 1,300, but I flew the maneuver at 2,000 feet, right? So I flew the maneuver at 2,000 feet. So at 2,000 feet, which was my altitude, minus field elevation is just 200. That's 1,800 divided by 300. That's 6. So what I did is I put a 6-mile ring around the airport. I put the airport in the fixed page that I use for my approaches, right? And then I put a 6-mile ring around that. And I knew that at that point, I needed to begin a descent, but how fast, how quick do you come down? And the easiest way to figure that out is you look at your ground speed. So if you're flying at 100, we're flying, I think it was 140 knots ground speed. So the easiest way to figure out what a good descent is for a 3-degree glide down to landing is you take the first two numbers of your ground speed. So in this case, 14, because 140, you drop the 0, 14, divide that by half, it's 7, and add 2 zeros. So at 6 miles, I need to begin a descent at 700 feet a minute to be stable all the way down the chute and to landing. And it was great because he'd never done that before, and he actually got to see it for the first time in actual circular land maneuver, figuring out visual descent point and figuring out how to do figure out what your descent rate needs to be all the way to touchdown. And then you back yourself up with the PAPIs and all that other stuff, which is a 3-degree PAPI light setup there. So that was basically the highlight of my flying for the last couple of days. I got to teach an FO how to do that, and he was
master
happy. Instructor.
Well,
I tried. He bought me a beer, and I'm like, "No, you're not buying me anything, man.
It's worth more than that.
You're not buying me anything. FOs don't pay for anything when I'm flying." So,
oh, nice.
So that was
kind
it.
of captain, man.
That was it.
All right, awesome. So things coming along in the house and the redesign.
They're
and
coming along.
Yeah.
Yep, coming along. Things are coming along fine. A lot of I'd like to say we're in the final touches, but that thinks to be about another 2 months or so until we're done. Just in time for the weather to start cooling off. So perfect time.
Just in time for the road vessel studio to pull up.
Exactly. So
plug in.
Would be you'll be pulling in. It'll be just as we're just as I'm done. Just as I'm finishing up. Sweeping up for the last time. You'll be pulling in.
Don't worry about it. I'll look the other way. I promise.
Yeah. So
well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So that's me.
All right, Rick. Do you ever cross paths with Kelsey of 7.4 gear?
No, I haven't. He just upgraded, I think, in the last couple of months. And no, I've never crossed paths with him. A lot of people ask me that all the time, but no, I haven't. I have not. No.
Okay.
I haven't even met him.
Very good.
It's like 3,000 of us, like 3,500 of us. So.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Very good. Well, Captain Nick, what have you been up to, sir? Have you been doing the lawn bowling thing, hot and heavy? You're muted. You're muted, sir. Muted.
Sorry about that.
Right.
I was all prepared to yield my time to the gentleman from Miami.
Okay. You want to say any more, Rick?
Well, now that I've been given the chance, once upon a time, just kidding. Go for it.
What is this, a filibuster?
Yeah, it's a parliamentary procedure, APG, airline parliamentary gathering.
Government.
Or
Yeah.
There you
government.
go. I like it.
Yes.
I
I'll
like
allow
it.
it.
I'll allow
good.
it. Yeah.
Yes, I have been indeed playing a little bit of bowls. We're enjoying the sort of final games of the season. We've been doing all right as a club, and in fact, winning league games and doing, generally speaking, very well. So, fantastic. On a personal note, I've had a lovely invitation to go to a radio station in London. Andrew has invited me to go to see him at work. So I'm going to head up to London later in the month and watch him. Now, if you remember, I listened or watched Radio Roger do his news broadcasts out of New York. That was fantastic. And this will be something very similar. Andrew is a producer as opposed to the man behind the microphone, but I'm sure it'll be great fun.
Yeah.
And he also does a podcast, so he obviously does get to do some of that kind of work as well. At least I think he's a producer. I don't know whether he actually is behind the mic now. I'm thinking about it. I'm not absolutely certain. I'm going to find out. So that'll be fun. And we're going to join up for lunch, and then in the evening I'm going to hook up with my son who lives and works in the same area. So I've booked a nice restaurant. We're going to have a nice steak together. So that'll be a nice thing to look forward to. And of course, the birthday is coming around before too long,
Big one.
which is a minor milestone in my life. So not too worried about that, but I'd like to crack into the 70th decade of my life. That'll be great fun.
70th
So
decade.
looking
That's a long old age.
forward-
long
Seems
life.
pretty damn short to me.
Flight level
70
700.
70 decades, though.
Yeah. That's you're in SR-71 territory there, Nixter. Flight level 700.
exactly right.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
So
Is it the seventh
other-
decade or the eighth decade, really? How do we
I was gonna
start the
say, I think
counting?
it's actually the eighth
Eighth decade.
that we'll be
Well,
starting.
I'm breaking into the 7th decade. Yes, I
No,
suppose
you're
it
just
is.
about to finish your 7th.
I feel like this is one of
am
those
I?
debates about where the counting starts for floors in a
Yeah.
building. You know, is it 0 or
Oh, let's
1?
don't do that.
No,
Okay,
is
sorry.
the first decade?
I don't know.
Yeah, the first decade must be 10 to 20, isn't it?
No, it's the
No, 0 to 10. 0 to
That,
10.
that's the 0 decade. It all gets very confusing, doesn't it?
This is so complicated.
Let's move on to
Liz is throwing the red flag and saying we need to move on.
Yeah, exactly right. So no, nothing exciting has happened in my life.
okay.
But
Well, that's
so
a
have
good thing, I
fun,
think.
the rest of you.
Okay.
Okay. Miss Stephanie.
Well, speaking of having fun,
Oh, wait. We're going to do. Oh, hang on. I'm sorry. I just realized the producer was mentioning something that we should do at this point, and I completely blew that off. Sorry.
Let me guess.
So, Nick, we know how much you appreciate certain aspects of aviation, the aviation
aspects.
segments of like
Every
rotorcraft, balloon craft.
What?
And
Yes, of course.
there's something going on over there in Paris. I'm not sure exactly what it is.
Yeah,
but
they really
bunch of-
set light to the passengers in that poor bloody hot air balloon. They must be having a real old time because they set light to them. I thought that was a bit mean. Yes,
Yeah.
I noticed that they all kept their distance from that floating device whilst it rose above the Paris streets. So I don't blame them. I would have kept my distance from it as well. But it was a very impressive sight, wasn't it?
If you call it a cauldron, that just sounds to me like something you definitely want to stay away from, like something that somebody may have put a fluence on. You know?
No,
Could be.
it's just because it's an Airbus balloon. That's not.
No, I just think it's a. I just think someone set light to a big tractor tire.
Well, it does kind of look like that too. You're right.
No, it was an interesting opening ceremony at the Olympics, and I'm very much enjoying the competitions.
You can say that again.
Yes.
Yeah. So before we move on to Miss Dr. Steph. We are going to talk about cover art, and not only are we going to talk about one, we have two this time.
Really?
To talk about. Yeah, because last episode was the live show at Oshkosh, and we didn't have a chance to do our normal coverage of the cover art from the previous show. So 2 shows ago, 624, was entitled using the 3 words, what 3 words, the app that a lot of people use, and we used quite extensively at Oshkosh, which worked out great. And of course, the title of the show was "Runway, Runaway, Run Away." Actually, that would be what 4 words, but
yes.
yeah, close enough.
Close
enough.
Yeah, that was inspired by you mentioning that you were going to use what 3 words as a primary method of keeping together at Oshkosh, which is an absolute necessity, quite honestly, because it's a big place and there are a lot of people there. Having said that, when I went there, every time I seemed to turn around, I saw friends, whether I had met them before or not. It was just a fantastic experience. I loved it. But this was inspired by, yes, what 3 words, and of course the battery fire that occurred in some poor chap's light aeroplane when he torched it because he tossed his ADS-B device into the back of his aeroplane after he had damaged it, and it subsequently had a thermal runaway, which is not to be recommended. So we've got, I thought, the AI did a reasonable job of giving me a burning aeroplane on a runway. I added a few little stickers, so there's a few battery warning stickers and a dangerous cargo sticker for it. And of course, there's a nice crowd of people running away. Gave a good view, I thought. If you're looking for the logo, it's on the bonnet, or you would call it the hood.
Oh, I see it, yeah.
Yeah, it's called the hood.
Cowling.
The cowling. Well, I would have called it a cowling if I was a pilot, but I'm not anymore. And
yes, you are.
Once a pilot.
Now, the numbers might have been a bit difficult. But yes, you've got to look down there at the skid marks. And they're not the skid marks that are in the passenger's trousers. They're the skid marks that are on the ground there. And there is, if you look closely enough,
I see the
a
6.
624. Yeah, the 6 is the easy one. But there's also a 2 and there's also a 4 there. So that's the area to hunt.
This is like
hunting for the show number.
Checking security, security features on checks over here.
Certainly is. And it's also like that stupid thing comes up to see if you're a robot on a website, which always annoys me. And the last show, we had, it was 625. There was a suggestion that we ought to have a honey wagon somewhere in it, because we've been talking about that. But I thought Laura's suggestion of the electric beaver had to take prime position. And since it was all done in a little bit of a rush, I thought that wasn't a bad effort, quite honestly, for an electric beaver. Now, the eye, if you look at the eye, the glowing eye, that has the APG logo around it. And so you have to look quite close. And the 625 is in the smoke, bottom left of the beaver,
I see it.
above the E.
I see it.
Very good.
Okay.
Those eyes remind me of the horse statue at the Denver airport.
Yep.
Actually, I think those eyes blue or red. They're red, I think. They glow red at night. Yes.
Well, I assumed it was like a groundhog. I thought it might be from Groundhog Day, but obviously not. Well, I did include an artist who had written "Nice Beaver" in the bottom corner.
That's the artist name.
That.
Signed by the artist.
Well, I thought
That's
so,
Mr. Beaver.
We've got
Banksy, we've got Nice Beaver.
Monsieur Beaver.
Exactly.
French.
Yeah, very.
Exactly. Right. Nice Beaver.
Hey, you know what, Nick? At Oshkosh, I saw an electric beaver.
Oh, right.
I did too.
I have evidence of it right here. Look, I was astonished.
In the
was it
wild,
hiding
Can
in
you
the
tell?
reeds there?
Yeah. There it is at the
is that
seaplane
thing
base.
over there? Oh, you see, no, it doesn't look anything like a beaver, because of course it doesn't have that great big radial cowling.
I know.
Nope,
They've
because
really,
it's
really changed it.
Yeah, they have.
I
It's not
wouldn't
as
have
pretty.
known, quite honestly.
No.
It does.
Yeah.
It's too aerodynamic for my taste.
Yeah, very
It flew-
pointy.
it flew down from,
Barely a
Vancouver,
Downland.
Yeah.
Canada.
Exactly.
Jeff, have you caught the sun a little?
There is a little bit of sunshine when you go to Oshkosh.
If you look at your arms, there's a
know.
distinct tan line.
Yeah, what do they call that? Farmer's tan or something?
Trucker's tan. No, it's funny. It was like I've got. Look at my.
Oh my
left
God.
arm.
Oh.
Good tan line.
Yeah.
Versus
Oh,
my
good
right.
tat.
And the reason is because these colors don't run. They say. The reason why is because I wear short sleeves when I fly, and I sitting by the window for hours on end, even though I do put sunblock and all that other stuff. But yeah, my left arm is always tan, and always have this this dopey tan line there. I can't get rid of it. So.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love the flag.
it's a good
mate.
look, man. I like it.
That's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I have them.
Good job you've got nice big muscles. Otherwise, that flag would go all the way around your arm twice.
Exactly. Exactly right. We can't have that.
That's great. All right. Dr. Steph, what have you been up to, ma'am?
Well, there was some talk of having fun before we went back and talked about the artwork for previous shows. But yeah, since I was there in Oshkosh with you, Jeff, so we had a couple days to wander around and see things and hang out and catch up in person, which was lovely and excellent. And I'm glad we got to see quite a few folks, or at least I got to see a few folks who stopped by the road vessel to say hello. Always nice to catch up with, like Nick said, friends you've met,
There
friends
you
you
are in the
haven't met,
They're at the,
friends that
road vessel.
you've talked to quite a lot on social media but never met in person. So that was very nice. Yep, I'm hanging out back there. Not sure what I'm doing. Probably looking at my phone.
Yeah, checking the phone.
Doing something.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Let's see,
yeah,
I thought I had
lovely.
another one
Oh,
of
look at that.
Wait, that's
there.
going to be kind of part of my thing there. But I thought that I had another picture with the three of us sitting
us?
at our positions at the live recording of the last show, but apparently not. Here's another photo from it, but it does not include you, Dr.
I am
Steph, or
not
Camacho.
included in that. And actually, I don't really have. I took a lot of selfies with a lot of our listeners, which was great. But I somehow did not get copies of any of those photos, so I might have to track them down on the social media to make sure I have those.
Well, you do have some photos that you want to share, though,
I
right?
do. So we were talking about having fun, and this is a little bit of a. I'm gonna do a little explanation here first because I feel like there's a little bit of a callback here to other fun times that have been had. So this week, one of my very best friends I've known since we were second graders, so basically 7 years old, is here for a visit for the week. She's getting some lake time. Thankfully, this tropical system, Debbie, has not impacted us too much. She booked the trip and then looked at the weather and went, wait, it's going to rain every day?
Yeah, it looked like you guys were going to get a huge amount of rain.
Tomorrow's going to be probably pretty bad. It's been mostly offshore. Yesterday was cloudy. Today has been some off and on showers, but it's mostly been pretty nice. So she arrived on Saturday, and she's here for a bit of a getaway from family and just lots of stuff going on in life. So come to the lake for a week, relax, have a vacation. You work all the time, so nice to take that load off a little bit. But then because she is one of my best friends, I was like, how can I possibly embarrass her when she arrives at the airport when I pick her up? And then I remembered about the, inflatable dinosaur. I might go to the other one first, Liz. The inflatable dinosaur costumes that we greeted you at the gate with in Philadelphia a number of years ago for the last flight of the Mad Dog. Right. So I don't have a dinosaur costume, but I did find last minute Amazon same day delivery this inflatable unicorn thing. Nice. So I came galloping down the the baggage claim area to greet her when I saw her.
You do that too?
Arrive.
Wow. Look at that.
I love it. That's
I
great.
do it on a regular basis.
On a regular basis, yes.
Yes.
This is how I generally greet people at the airports. You know, you're going to get some sort of embarrassing.
Just a quick mention to those of you listening to the audio only podcast. If you'll go to the show notes for the show, we'll have all these photos there for you to look at. It should be somewhere there in your podcast player. There should be a link there somewhere, but if not, just go to airlinepilotguy.com/626, and that should take you right to the this episode's show notes, and you can see all this stuff. Okay,
I'm laughing
continue.
at looking at this because it was advertised as an adult size costume, not something for children, but the legs were so short on it, like I couldn't get the pink unicorn feet around my shoes. So you can see my
So it looks like you're
sneakers
like
peeking
on the back of the unicorn.
Yes, the way it's set up is so that you're,
back
you know,
riding.
you're the top half of your body, torso up, is not inside the costume. It's one of those inflatable, you know, Halloween costumes basically. But then it has these, like on the unicorn, there's fake legs, so it looks like you're riding the unicorn, and it gives you a little
great.
reins to hold on to. I'm holding the hat because it apparently did not stay on my head very well.
Oh, I thought you were just doing like one of those.
It just didn't stay on my head once I started moving, so that was funny. So she's here for the week, and we've just been enjoying each other's company. You know, some relaxing time, some lake time, and that's my friend there. That's you can see Charlotte in the background there, the new walkway they opened.
And
up
she
to
had the
parking
honor
deck.
of wearing the hat.
Yeah, I handed that over to her after.
Is that Charlotte?
Charlotte in the background? Yep.
Oh,
that's the
they
new.
put up that nice. Awning
Similar to
or what?
Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Very
finally
nice.
a lot of it's open. You can see there's still a ton of construction happening in the background
Yeah.
because I think this airport will be under construction for the next
Forever.
45 years at least, possibly.
Excellent.
But yeah, it's been a good week. We've been relaxing. I've unfortunately had to work. I didn't really have any time off, but she's been holding down the fort here. And I guess the only other big news is that my little brother is also moving to the area, so he will be arriving very soon, and we'll help get him settled when he gets here. So
Excellent.
good stuff.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I've been doing a lot. Of course, many of you know, or most of you probably know, that I am now living my life full time in my road vessel and the road vessel studio. And I took a little break. I think I talked about that. I think we actually recorded a show, didn't we? When I was on that break down in Sawney campground. And so I got back on and resumed my inaugural voyage in the Road Vessel Studios and headed up to Oshkosh and made it there on Tuesday. I guess the official start of Oshkosh was on Sunday. And so I got there on Tuesday and met up with some of the folks there. And let's see, this is a picture of a couple of them. We have Laura and Logan. And that was taken after we did our recording of the show, the live show at Oshkosh on Thursday, I believe. Yeah, Thursday morning. But let's see, I started the whole journey. Let's see, I got in that Tuesday afternoon. I don't believe it was until the next day that I got a call from. I'm trying to find the keynote here. Got a call from.
You went to dinner on. Sorry.
Did I?
You went
On
to
Tuesday?
dinner on Tuesday with AJ. Didn't you go over to AJ?
Oh, that's right. That's what I started with. Thank you. I'm glad she's here because she's the one that actually remembers all the things that I've done and that I'm going to do. She helps organize my life. We're talking about Liz here sitting next to me. That night, there's her hand. I got a call from AJ Schramm, the gentleman who is the professional Porsche driver that Captain Nick and I met up with and got a demonstration. Yeah. He said, "Hey, what are you doing for dinner?" I said, "I don't know. I just got here. I'm just settling into my site." And he said, "Yeah, would you like some Louisiana gumbo?" And I went, "Yeah, I love gumbo." And so he said, "This is where I am. We're at the Vintage Aircraft down near the short takeoff and landing, the Stoll runway. And I looked at my little mat that I got when I got my media credentials, or actually, no, I don't think I had a chance to look at it at that point because I didn't have my media credentials. And AJ knows a lot of people. He was able to get me into the restricted area that requires a special band around your wrist that shows that you actually have a ticket to be there. And so I think he bribed the little guard, the gate guard there, to allow me to come in. But anyway, I was thinking, I remember going to this area it was about 5 years ago, 2019. We walked over to the Stoll runway and watched some of that. And I thought, it didn't seem like it was that far. I was wrong. It was very far. But met up with AJ and got to meet some of the Comanche people there. He was kind of hanging out with them.
Comanche Sioux?
Well, no, Comanche Sioux wasn't there. But I forgot exactly what the proper name is for their group, but it has something to do with Comanches. And he knows a lot of those folks. A couple of them from Louisiana made a huge, must have been 10, 15 gallon stock pot full of gumbo, and it was really good. Had some beer, and so got to spend some time with AJ over there. And then I made my way back to the road vessel, and it was getting dark, and my heels were getting very sore. I thought that they were probably bleeding, but it turns out it wasn't that bad. Made it back to the road vessel and got to bed. Next morning, I got a call from one of the people in this photo. That's Mike Carrolls and Jen Niffer, and he said, "Hey, you want us to pick you up?" And I said, "Well, I got to go to the media center to get my credentials." And I said, "We're going to go right by that place." And I went, "Okay, pick me up then." So got to meet up with them, and we got the media credentials, and then
Show us your credentials with this.
Oh, well, so yeah, my media credentials are very special, and let me show you what they did for me here. Here we go. My name Jeff Nielsen, the airline pilot guy Podcase. So I think that actually is pretty accurate. I like a head case. I do.
They fixed the typo by the time I got mine. Apparently.
Oh, did they?
So,
Okay, yeah, Podcase.
I love it.
They actually volunteered to fix it. They said, "No, I think I like podcast
I like
better
that
than
better.
podcast."
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Very good.
That was my media badge. And so I hung out with them for the most of that day. I hung out with a whole bunch of people at the show, and we were trying to decide when would be a good time to do the show. And so Steph, she said you were going to be arriving on Wednesday. And I think Camacho, I don't think he got there until Wednesday. He was supposed to be there on Tuesday, but ran into a whole bunch of weather issues.
Yeah, we ran into the same weather
world.
issues. I was supposed to be at least in Wisconsin on Tuesday night, and that did not happen. I got a nice bonus night in Chicago.
Yeah. So a lot of people's travel plans were disrupted by not very good weather. And so both Steph and Camacho made it there to Camp Scholler, the campground at Whitman Field, Oshkosh Air Venture. And so we came up with the plan to do a live show on Thursday. I think we were shooting for like 11 o'clock or something like it. It was short notice. So all those of you out there who were hoping to be at an APG live show and didn't know about it or didn't know about it in time, our apologies, but it was kind of a sliding scale for. Yeah, we did. Yeah, Liz sent out notices and stuff, but sometimes people get distracted and involved in other activities and don't really, aren't able to check all that.
If they're at Oshkosh and they're like, "Ooh, airplanes."
Yeah,
that's really probably the important thing to be doing.
A lot of distractions, and honestly, all that stuff is much more important than watching a bunch of podcases do the show. So, but anyway, it worked out well. And Steph and Camacho and I were representing the crew for the podcast, and Captain Nick as well. He was there remotely. He was in England, and honestly, Nick, you provided really a lot of content for the show, and we're able to. You're an expert interviewer, and you asked some great questions, and it really spurred on and made our show wonderful. And speaking of interviewers and like taking control of the show, which I love, Dr. Steph was the one that was assigned to the handheld wireless microphone, and she did her. What's the
made
guy's
the
name?
rounds and
Phil. Dr. Phil, no, not Dr. Phil.
no, not Dr. Phil.
That guy, the guy would lean down and it was a long time ago. Guy had
Not even sure who you're referencing.
white
to
hair,
me.
gray hair. Shoot, I'll remember. Maybe somebody in the crowd will know what I'm talking about. It was a while ago. It was a guy that would have a live talk show, and he'd walk around with his wireless microphone and ask people questions. And I can't remember.
I was
his name.
channeling whoever that guy
Yeah.
was.
Phil Donahue. Thank you, Tim.
Is that him?
That's exactly who I was trying to come up with. Phil Donahue. So Steph didn't know it because she probably doesn't know who Phil Donahue is.
I know who Phil Donahue is. I was unaware that he did that on his show.
Yeah,
But apparently
that's kind of how he became famous. I think. Or that's how I came to know him. Anyway, the point is, Dr. Steph did an awesome job. Thank you very much. I really didn't get a chance to talk to you at all after that step because you had to leave later that day. But thank you for doing that. I mean, both later the next day, Camacho and I were together going to the Watermelon Social over at the seaplane base, and he was remarking. We were both remarking how it was awesome how you just took that role and were basically steering the show and the questions and everything else. It was wonderful.
Camacho was great.
Yeah, Camacho was fantastic as well. But it was like one of the first times I got to actually just sit there and just watch everything happening and just enjoy it and drink my beer while
Good.
you guys were doing your thing.
I'm glad. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed talking to everyone. It was, highlight for me as well.
Okay. So let's see. What else do I have here on my?
You went to the OB boys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course. That's one of the highlights. Well, before that, on the next day, I believe, I was out toward the Brown Arch area. I spent a lot of time actually in that general vicinity, and I was able to visit the the custom tile that was made for the mayor of Oshkosh, Glenn Towler, who passed away in 2022, May of 2022. And so I'm getting much better at finding it because, it's been a couple of times now where you can find his very nice tile there in that Brown Arch Memorial area. And let's see, this was on Saturday morning when opposing bases crew, the celebrities, showed up and they got to use the AOPA facilities, very nice inside, and big crowd there, huge crowd. And but I was hanging out with some of the APG regulars, Logan Lynch, and this gentleman next to Logan, right behind his left shoulder there, was Jacob from Berlin. I got to meet him for the first time. And then this other German guy right there in the bright yellow shirt with the Boeing shirt is Stefan. The supplier of the official supplier of gin to the Airline Pilot Guy show, was there. And by the way, he has a podcast. I think I mentioned that on the live show. I didn't realize that he has a German podcast. So those of you who understand the German language should listen to his show. And got to hang out with him quite a bit. And then let's see, what else do we have here? We got to see the two opposing bases gentlemen, AG on my right and RH on my left. And there was a guy that I also hung out quite a bit with who was an APG community member, an Acme pilot who was going through Acme training at the Acme Training Center last year. And I believe it was like March of last year or May, one of the M months. I met up with him, RJ.
October?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Rick.
You got it.
Yeah, we met at the Brass Tap on Virginia Avenue across the street from Mecca. And that's where I got to meet him in person. He lives in the Huntington Beach area. Anyway, he was there and was hanging out with him. And we, especially around this Opposing Bases live show event, a lot of people were requesting pictures with me. And so RJ said, I can take the pictures. So he's taking everybody's camera and taking pictures. And I told him, I said, this would be fun, I think. So like take an extra picture, but like flip the camera around and do like a selfie of yourself. And then when you finish, just hand the camera back and ask him if that's a good picture. And so he like in this instance, we were taking this photo with RJ and AG, and then he takes the pictures and he hands the phone to them and says, how's that look? So
that was great.
Perfect.
Thank you.
We were having fun.
That's a keeper.
Yeah, and so there's Logan again behind RJ. Man, RJ and I had a great time, and so I'm sure you'll hear more about RJ in the future.
Super nice guy. It was nice to meet all those guys. That
Yeah,
you just mentioned
fantastic. So Oshkosh was just a blast. Had a great time. Got to as I said, meet up with all the regular Oshkosh regulars from the APG community, and I think I already told you about the electric beaver, and then of course I kind of sort of mentioned that AJ, the guy that supplied me with gumbo on that first night that I was there, said, "Hey, I'm going to be busy on Friday night, I think. Yeah, Friday night. I don't know, one of those nights. They had a social event over at the seaplane base, and he said he had some extra tickets, and so I asked Camacho. And Camacho was with his son, Cannon, and his dad, Hector. And I said, would you like to go to this thing? I don't really know what it's about, but I think it's free food and free beer and at the seaplane base. And we get to look at seaplanes. And they said, yeah, we're in. So we all got together and did that. And that was a lot of fun.
Twist some arms there.
Yeah,
I know.
really twist his arm.
You got me a free.
Seaplanes and beer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oshkosh was great. So I ended up leaving on Saturday afternoon after the big opposing bases live show, and headed off toward Menominee. Took this little Menominee. Yeah. That never gets old, does it? No. I took this little video. I shared this with my crew members, but I'll share it with all of you. This was at a golf course.
Where I am in Menominee. Look at this. This is Lake Michigan. Beautiful. It's so nice. The breeze is nice. Nice and cool. Here comes
just
some
north of
traffic
Green
down
Bay.
the road. This is the North Shore Golf Club Harvest Host public course. Here's my home. And,
Sorry about all the wind
that's
noise.
where I'll be here for the night. And a beautiful golf course. And now we're where we started. So that's a 360 right there. But look at this. So peaceful.
Wonderful.
Love this life.
So that was a lot of fun. And the North Shore Golf Course had a little pro club. And I basically was the only one there. There were a couple of people out there playing a round or two of golf, and I asked the guy if they had a restaurant. And he said, well, I can make you a cheeseburger. And he said, folks around here think I do a pretty good job of it. And I went, okay, sign me up, and poured me a mug of beer, and that cheeseburger was fantastic. One of the best I've had.
Nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
They know a thing or two about cheese too in Wisconsin.
They do.
so-
I would think so.
Oh,
Yeah.
and then you drove into a tree.
I did. I kind of really put a damper
See
on
that
the whole
Poppy is
trip.
only mildly concerned. It's fine.
I never thought of it, but yeah, it does kind of look like I drove into a tree. I managed to miss it. This is the view from Liz coming out on her back porch of her cottage at the lake, and so that was basically my next stop. I made it to the lake country north of Toronto. And that was my parking spot there for the house, and had a great time. 3 days, I think 3 nights, 4 days, something like that.
5 nights.
Oh.
Yeah, 5 nights.
Oh, 5 nights, okay.
Yeah, you got there Monday, and then we left on Saturday, and you went to your next stop.
I did, yes, yes.
But we did plenty of nothing.
We did lots of nothing.
Yeah, which was
Because
good for you. I
That's
think.
the
Good.
best kind.
Would this be a good time for us to play the
Yes.
audio from our new sponsor?
Yes, but your
at
next
APG?
destination and sponsor.
Yeah, it has something to do with my next destination. So let's take a listen.
Come visit the tranquil surroundings and experience the exemplary welcoming ambience at the renowned convalescent home for gentlefolk and wayward pilots, the Vandorf Hysteria. Nestled among Ontario's lush forest greenery, with soothing birdsong all around, let us pamper you with our signature cuisine, select wine list, and carefully chosen IPAs. Musical therapy is a must, and guest participation is mandatory. Sipping espressos and finely aged liqueurs by the pond are an evening highlight. If you ask really nicely, we will provide you with a takeaway supply of our 5-star French onion soup and your own custom batch of our personalized roasted coffee beans. Free parking for your peripatetic pilot Pantechnicons is available for a small fee payable in advance. Call us today to book your Vandorf Hysteria experience. See you soon.
That is fantastic.
Lovely.
Yeah, fantastic.
Such a good, so well done.
Great.
I just wish they would provide you with a copy of the contract so you could bitch about it. You know, then it'd be legit. But I'm sorry,
I took a picture of the parking signs.
I have them.
Do you have them? Okay, she'll dig them up while I'll continue to talk here. But I pulled up in this beautiful. They have a wonderful home. This is John Brown and Brenda Scott, and they're a lovely couple that have. He's been a listener to APG for several years now, and he and Brenda actually flew down in their Trinidad, Cicada Trinidad aircraft, beautiful airplane. Back, I don't
actually a
remember
couple years ago.
Yeah, it was several years ago. We had a meeting at the 57th Fighter Group, and I'm not sure was that one of the ones that Captain Nick attended or not? I don't remember.
That was one of my very first APG meetups.
Was that the? Do you remember a situation where we were sitting at a big table with a whole bunch of people inside and having a dinner? And there was this lady, a very, very southern lady, the wife of one of the APG community members, and she was a hoot. She had everybody laughing so hard. I mean, I could almost not breathe. That's how funny this lady was. I'm not sure if that was one.
I feel like that was at a restaurant
that was
somewhere.
We were eating
like
outside.
Okay.
In the garden by the edge of the airfield when we.
Right. Okay.
There.
So yeah, we've had a couple of meetups there at the 57th Fighter Group at PDK. Anyway, so I got to meet them there, and he also flew down with his friend Chris Pratt in that airplane at another meetup that we had up in Columbus, Ohio. And so that was great seeing him there. And I don't know if that was before or after our meetup. And let's see, the other thing I was going to say.
You went flying.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course. Yeah, I was going to say that we went flying for sure. So let me show the picture from that. This is like inviting people over to somebody's house and I'm getting the slide projector out and we're looking at slides of our vacation. So I do apologize. So we went out. This is the picture of John in front of his airplane, the Trinidad. Beautiful airplane. And I was looking at the tail and I noticed there was some kind of a sticker on the tail and I got a little closer. Look at that. Acme Airlines
We can't
sticker.
see it.
Oh, you can't see? Oh, I should probably share this then with you. Thank you.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, I love it. Excellent. Good design.
Yeah. So, look at that. He's had it on there for a while. He didn't just plop that on there right before my visit, as far as I know. It looked like it had been on there for a bit. Let me go back to the previous thing where you can actually see. Okay. There we go.
Nice.
That's
Hey, nice one.
Hey, he doesn't have any stickers on his registration.
No,
So-
no. Well, he's not hiding from the
That's
law.
not far.
Apparently, he's not a
Okay.
sovereign citizen yet. Yeah. Anyway, why don't we show? Okay, let's. Here's a picture of the two of us in flight over Lake
Look at that.
Simcoe. And had a great
Hey.
time. We headed over. We took off
Nice
from there,
fun.
headed up to Lake Simcoe, and then we went around the lake on the other side. He did a practice RNAV approach to Lindsay, Ontario, and then we stopped there and had a nice breakfast at the little restaurant on the field. And then we got back in, and we stopped by and did a couple of orbits around his daughter-in-law's and family and grandkids' place in Keswick. And then after that, we headed back to his home airport, a little 2,000-foot. It's like a private airfield. It's Holland Landing Air Park, and it's got a nice spot in a really beautiful hangar, and it was a wonderful time. And let's see. So when I was pulling into their, okay, let me remove that. When I was pulling into his long driveway in the woods, and I came around the corner to see my spot to park the road vessel, I see this thing that says peripatetic pilot parking. And of course, the airline pilot guy show
Excellent.
logo. And then, of course, there was a place for the producer, Liz, producer parking.
I love it.
And yeah, we were having fun. And I told John that, especially you, Captain Nick, really have a fondness for alliteration. And, we could call instead of calling it the road vessel, I said the peripatetic pilot, but we got to come up with some kind of a P word. And what was the word again? The she says it in the beginning of the ad.
That was Brenda's voice.
That was Brenda that was doing the voiceover work and that audio for the Vandorf Historia. And the town or area of Vandorf is like right next to where their home is. Beautiful place. They have created this just wonderful atmosphere in their backyard, back lawn or whatever you call it.
It's her pond.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's her pond. She created that whole pond herself. John had nothing to do with it.
No, and he kind of created this beautiful adjacent to this amazing pond with twin waterfalls and several goldfish and frogs, a beautiful lawn that he mowed like it was a golf course.
The Bowman 3000 or some special reel
reel mower. Yeah, it was
gorgeous.
Really gorgeous. The whole setting, and beautiful, tall, super tall, mature maple trees all around. Just a gorgeous place. And that's where I spent, let's see, was that Friday through Saturday through
Sunday, Monday, 3 nights with them.
3 nights there.
Yep.
And then I drove away from there yesterday morning, and then I'm back here at the condo, not at the lake now. We're at Liz's condo and her home studio. And so it's just been an amazing time. And I still have more to go.
More adventures to come.
Yeah, more adventures. Tomorrow I'm leaving and heading over to, I don't know if you all remember, during COVID, a couple of Air Canada pilots, I think I'm allowed to say that, were furloughed. And so they had an interest in coffee roasting as well. And I think you...
I remember. Yeah.
The Lost Aviators
Indeed.
coffee. Yeah. And I was, in fact, that box that they sent the coffee in, it was a small box, and just to let my crew know that it wasn't like enough coffee for everyone. It was just enough for me.
Yeah, that's what you say. Yeah.
And,
I do have one of their like zipper pulls
the little,
that says drink before flight and Lost Aviator
my
coffee on the
favorite
back.
little thing that you put on your luggage or keys or whatever, and it says drink instead of
remove before flight. Yeah, drink
before flight, which is a little provocative. And I had that on my luggage, but if you turn it over, it says Lost Aviator Coffee Company. So obviously that's what we're going to be drinking before the flight. That I probably shouldn't have put that on my luggage.
Never mind that I have it attached to my cooler at the moment.
There you go. Yeah. So that's a wonderful wonderful item.
them.
So I'm visiting. I'm going to swing by their place.
Flying again.
They're flying again. They're back flying at Air Canada, and I'm going to swing by the Lost Aviator Coffee Company in Guelph, Ontario, and then swing around the west end of Lake Ontario and head down toward Niagara.
Yep.
Niagara Falls and cross the U.S. border.
Yep,
there.
Queenston, Lewiston crossing. Yep.
Yeah, and then
Do you think
got a
they'll
place.
let you back? Have you got a number plate yet?
I do. I do have a number plate, and so I look like I'm a legit. I'm not, but I do look like I am. And then I'll stay in this little bit of land there, just across the border, called Grand Island.
Island in the Niagara River.
An island in the Niagara River, and have a campground. Looks like a pretty nice campground, and then I'll spend the night there. And then the following day,
This is a highlight.
I get to meet up with, and I'll tell you all about this on the next show. The APG librarian, Tiffany.
Nice.
We're going to meet for lunch, and then after that, I'm going to continue on my journey, heading south, and several points before I make it back to the Atlanta area. So. Yeah, it's been a grand. It's been such a. It's been so busy, but at the same time, such a relaxing, wonderful time to just hang out with friends, and in such beautiful locations. The lake,
Just great to
the
have
cottage.
you. Just great to have you here, Jeff.
And-
really,
and-
seriously.
Well,
Loved it.
she's so hospitable. I should probably. I know she doesn't want me to show her.
No, not really.
Yeah, but I mean, they need to see the producer every now and then. I set up a special camera position for you. There you go.
Hi, Liz.
Hi, Liz.
It's great to see you.
Look at this
Love
beautiful
to see
place.
you.
Look at that. Look at that. That
Floral display.
Yeah, the hanging flowers in the garden.
Oh, the
area
hanging flowers of
behind.
Babylon.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was going to say.
hanging gardens
Beautiful.
of Babylon. Anyway,
Yeah,
it's great. Any crew members welcome.
yeah. It's a beautiful place.
Anyway, it's been great to have you here, Jeff. For sure.
Well, I've had a blast, and I know I'll continue to have until I leave. But this will probably be an annual thing if she'll have me.
I'm
so
up for that.
yeah, okay. So
Now,
yeah,
coffee fund?
coffee fund. Yeah, okay,
Can you just coffee fund and then plain tail after coffee fund?
okay. We'll do that.
Okay.
I'm getting messages from the producer. Right, she's sitting right next to me, as you saw. We're going to do the plain tail after we do the coffee fund. So I'm going to go over here and push. I should have you pushing these buttons.
No thanks.
Okay, here we go.
It's a button no producer will push.
Oh, yeah.
Johnny, how much more coffee? No thanks.
We can sing together, though. I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. I forgot the word. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. Oh, yeah. The Coffee Fund. It's your way to support our show if you'd like to. We never turn anybody away from, giving us a donation, a contribution. That helps us with supporting the show by helping us buy equipment and funds various meetup events and that kind of thing. So it's great. So a couple different ways to do it. One is the OG, the Coffee Fund Classic method. Since the last show, Ed Kelly gave us a nice donation via PayPal, basically. So thank you, Ed, for that. And we also have something called Patreon. You can become a patron of the show at Patreon, and with a couple different tiers, but it's all the same. It's just the amount of money that you are willing to pledge per episode. And we have a couple of new producers, Gigi and Ben Morose. And we have a new executive producer as well. Now, Liz and I talked about that. We're not really sure how to pronounce your last name, Ed. Ed C. I don't know if it's Cough or Cock. That could be either. So maybe you can let us know how to pronounce your last name. So there you go. Become a patron of the show via patreon.com. We have the information about the entire Coffee Fund thing at airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. You'll be glad you did. And we will too, right?
Right.
All right. Let's go to the best part of the show when we have it, and that's the old pilot's plane tales. And I need to see if Miss Liz is ready to do that.
I'm ready.
Okay, you are. All right. So without further ado, let's do a plane tale. There we go.
The Old Pilot's Plain Tales, the Guinea Pig Club. In the words of its benefactor, it has been described as the most exclusive club in the world, but the entrance fee is something most men would not care to pay, and the conditions of membership are arduous in the extreme. There are other clubs that arose around the adversity that airmen of the Second World War endured, such as the Caterpillar Club, the symbol of which was a golden silkworm with garnet, enamel or amethyst eyes that represented the silk threads used to weave the material of the parachute that had saved their lives after bailing out of their stricken aircraft. Founded by Leslie Irvin of the Irvin Airshoot Company of Canada in 1922, the award of these pins was strictly controlled, such that a Lancaster tail gunner who jumped from his burning aircraft without a parachute and survived by landing in a snowdrift was denied entry to the club. Successful applications for membership included General James Doolittle, Charles Lindbergh, John Glenn, Douglas Bader, and the German ace Ernst Udet. Recent applications from a group of 12 skydivers who jumped from their fatally damaged aircraft were denied entry, as it had been their intention to jump in the first place, but the pilot, who saved himself by bailing out, was admitted. The Goldfish Club welcomes members who have survived an aircraft emergency by parachuting or ditching into the water and were saved by some form of flotation device. The main aim of the club is to keep alive the spirit of comradeship arising from the mutual experience of members surviving coming down in the drink. One club that would normally be considered very hard to enter relies on the member riding down to earth on a Martin Baker ejector seat, and a successful ejection earns a tie, a pin, a patch, and a certificate, plus a membership card and the chance to purchase a limited edition Bremont wristwatch. Despite its rarity, there are 7,723 potential members out there. These other clubs are more a measure of the bravado, good luck or good fortune of its members to make use of an aircraft's emergency survival equipment, but the club I will tell you about today is one that honoured the grim stubbornness of its members to overcome the pain and disfigurement of their injuries with stoical, good, if rather dark, humour. The Guinea Pig Club. Established in 1941, it was a social and mutual support club for British and Allied aircrew injured during the Second World War and was made up from the patients of Archibald Mackindoe in Ward 3 at the Queen Victoria Hospital, East Grinstead, in the south of England. Mackindoe was born at the dawn of a new century that would see 2 world wars, in Dunedin, the second largest city of New Zealand's South Island. He studied medicine at the University of Otago and became a house surgeon at Waikato Hospital before being the first New Zealand doctor to be awarded a fellowship at the Mayo Clinic to study pathological anatomy. During his time there, he flourished, and in 1930, on the advice of the president of the Royal College for Surgeons in England, he moved to London. On arrival, it seemed that his benefactor had forgotten all about this big New Zealander, so with his family in tow, he lodged in a cold, damp basement flat and looked for work. It came in the form of an introduction by his mother to a distant cousin who was a highly regarded plastic surgeon, and he started working with him at St. Bartholomew's Hospital. For the next few years it was hard as he studied and learned from Sir Harold, but his skills and reputation grew until he was able to start his own practice and reap the rewards of his dedication. At the outbreak of the Second World War, he was one of only 4 experienced plastic surgeons in Britain, and he was asked to take up a senior position at the newly refurbished Queen Victoria Hospital, where he founded a Centre for Plastic and Jaw Surgery. He became the plastic surgeon to the Royal Air Force, which placed enormous demands on his skill as a trickle of casualties soon became a flood. The type of reconstructive surgery that Mackindo developed was innovative and ingenious because of the challenges presented to him by this influx of tragically maimed young aircrew who were placed in his care. Geoffrey Page, who came under Mackindo's care, described how he was injured whilst attacking a number of Dornier Do-17 light bombers. Surprise quickly changed to fear as the instinct of self-preservation began to take over. The petrol tank behind the engine blew up, and my cockpit became an inferno. Fear became blind terror, then agonized horror as the bare skin of my hands gripping the throttle and control column shriveled up like burnt parchment under the intensity of the blast furnace temperature. Screaming at the top of my voice, I threw my head back to keep it away from the searing flames. It was later, in the antiseptic confines of the hospital, that he first realized the full extent of his injuries, when I looked away and upwards, catching sight of myself in the reflector mirrors of the overhanging light. My last conscious memory was of seeing the hideous mass of swollen, burnt flesh that had once been my face. The Battle of Britain had ended for me, but another long battle was beginning. Between 1939 and 1945, there were over 4,500 Allied airmen who had burn injuries from the war, and of those injuries, 80% were what became known as airmen's burns. These were deep tissue burns to the hands and face. Missing noses, lips, and eyelids was common, as too was the curling in of the fingers into claws or fists. Wearing gloves hadn't been compulsory for airmen before this point, but when such injuries started to occur so frequently, they were quickly mandated, but that would be too late for Geoffrey. He had been injured during the Battle of Britain, when the weather had been particularly good at the time, between July and October 1940, and cockpits were hot and sweaty. As a result, many pilots didn't wear gloves or goggles. If they were shot down or crashed and the cockpit was engulfed by flame, the results were catastrophic. This was exacerbated by the introduction of new aircraft and more powerful fuel, which led to new and horrific injuries. It had been estimated that these flash fires, often caused by incendiary bullets hitting fuel tanks, could reach a sudden 3,000 degrees centigrade inside the aircraft. This would, of course, cause unimaginable damage to any exposed skin. Ward 3 at the Queen Victoria Hospital was set aside for officers and the most seriously burned and injured service personnel, and with his devoted staff, Mackindo would go on to treat hundreds. Out-of-date treatments like the use of tannic acid, which formed a hard casing over the raw wounds, were abandoned as reconstruction of the contracting skin became near impossible. A gentler saline wash was preferred. Wounds were kept open and given loose, moist dressings soaked in a type of Vaseline jelly so that they could be easily removed for surgery, and the men received regular saline baths. New skin was grown by cutting flaps that were stitched into a tube but still attached at one end to the body to keep the skin healthy until it could be grafted. The odd-looking tube pedicles meant that men had to get used to having the delicate tissue restrict their movement for weeks before they could be used to recreate new noses, foreheads, lips, or chins. One of the biggest worries were the hidden injuries that these young victims could suffer when their young lives were so suddenly and irrevocably changed. In this respect, Mackindo knew that he had to try to give these vital and energetic pilots something of their lives back. In contrast with the rest of the hospital, Ward 3 was painted in cheerful greens and pinks, and homely chintz curtains surrounded the windows. The atmosphere encouraged by the staff was a surprise to all who visited, as the place resounded with raucous laughter, swearing, and the constant noise of a radio. Beer was on tap, and John Hunter, the good-natured chief anaesthetist, would bet with those he put under that if they were sick after coming around, he would then buy them a pint. It was over sherry on a Sunday afternoon in 1941 that a group of aircrew suggested that they should form a drinking club. Membership would be open to any Allied aircrew who had suffered at least 2 operations at the Queen Victoria. The doctors, surgeons and medical staff, and the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Guinea Pigs. Annual subscription was 2 shillings and 6pence. The idea was encouraged by Mackindo, who saw this as a crucial part of his patients' emotional and physical rehabilitation. As soon as they were able, the staff would encourage the disfigured guinea pigs to go into the town of East Grinstead, so aid their social rehabilitation. Mackindo appealed to the people to welcome these terribly injured aircrew into their lives, and they soon became a regular sight in local shops and pubs. As the people got to know the guinea pigs, it diminished the frequently held belief that disfigured people should be hidden away. Residents went out of their way to accept the guinea pigs, which is why East Grinstead became known as the town that didn't stare. Historically, wounded servicemen wore a special uniform known as hospital blues while they were recovering. However, the jackets buttoned up, making them impractical for those with burned hands. Mackindo felt that the uniform made his patients look like criminals and feel even worse. He forbade the guinea pigs to wear them, burnt the supply of blues sent to East Grinstead, and told the men that they could choose what to wear, and more often than not, they chose to wear their old RAF uniforms with pride. With the support of the RAF, Mackindo encouraged politicians and celebrities to meet and socialize with the guinea pigs as a way of supporting the war effort. He sent out invitations and wrote to newspapers. It wasn't long before the guinea pig members were being invited to film and theatre premieres. He was instrumental in changing the RAF's approach to their injured servicemen, and they began to actively promote the public acceptance of disfigured servicemen. In 1942, film star Clark Gable was just one of a number of celebrities, royalty and politicians who came to visit the guinea pigs while they convalesced. Over the years, they met Winston Churchill, Dame Vera Lynn, comedians Joyce Grenfell, Tommy Trinder, and Max Miller, and entertainer Max Bygraves, and many more. Sadly, but perhaps not surprisingly, many of the guinea pigs experienced emotional difficulties with their wives and girlfriends. For the men, it would take them a long time to come to terms with their life-changing experiences. For the women, it was sometimes too hard for them to see those that they loved come back with such extreme injuries. As a result, many relationships broke down. For some of the guinea pigs, new relationships did begin to flourish. The men developed bonds with their nurses and met local girls while out socializing. One such relationship favored Bill and Catherine Foxley, who married while she was working at the hospital. Bill had already undergone 33 operations before the wedding, and he was just one of many guinea pigs who married nurses or girls they met during their time at East Grinstead. When they weren't out chasing girls, they sang songs around the bar. We are Mackindo's army, we are his guinea pigs, with dermatomes and pedicles, glass eyes, false teeth and wigs. And when we get our discharge, we'll shout with all our might, per ardua ad astra, we'd rather drink than fight. John Hunter runs the gas works. Ross Tilley wields the knife. And if they are not careful, they'll have your flaming life. So guinea pigs, stand steady for all your surgeons' calls. And if their hands aren't steady, they'll whip off both your ears. We've had some mad Australians, some French, some Czech, some Poles. We've even had some Yankees, God bless their precious souls. While as for the Canadians, that's a different thing. They couldn't stand our accent and built a separate wing. We are Mackindo's army, we are his guinea pigs. With dermatomes and pedicles, glass eyes, false teeth and wigs. And when we get our discharge, we'll shout with all our might, per ardua ad astra, we'd rather drink than fight. Per ardua ad astra is the motto of the RAF and means through adversity to the stars. And nowhere is this more profoundly represented than in the members of the Guinea Pig Club. Amazingly, some of them made such a comprehensive recovery that they returned to flying duties, determined to see out the war as active combatants. These men, some as young as 19 or 20, survived injuries that only 10 years earlier would undoubtedly have killed them. However, for Mackindo, it wasn't just about physical healing these men. It was about giving them back their purpose and pride, about making them feel accepted back into society. When the fighting stopped, Archibald Mackindo was knighted, but he knew that for his guinea pigs their struggles would continue. He said, "Yes, the war is over for most people, but not quite for these men. And the job we've got to do is to make them feel like they are back on the map, spiritually, although they mayn't be physically." The club continued until 2007, but its legacy carries on. 10 years later, directly inspired by the Guinea Pig Club, the Kazivac Club, a similar mutual support group for service personnel, was formed for personnel badly injured in the Iraq and Afghan wars.
Wow.
That was really cool. I had no idea. I'd never heard of that one before. I knew about I knew about the Martin Baker and I knew about the Caterpillar, but I never heard of this one. But you know what this made me think of what was his name? Brian Schul, the guy that was shot down in Vietnam and became an SR-71 pilot.
Oh yeah.
He was he was shot down and badly burned. And went back up. He fought very hard to regain his flight status, and went on to fly A-10s. He was the demonstrator pilot for the A-10 program when the A-10 first came out, and then flew the SR-71. So I wonder if he was a member of any club like that. But yeah, that was fascinating, Nick, sir. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Guinea Pig Club, of course, famous in the United Kingdom, but I wasn't aware of its how it was known of around the world. Although the Canadians made a very big thing of it, and they actually contributed an entire wing to that hospital. They built a wing on the hospital to accommodate the number of pilots that they had who were burned, and also people from other countries who were fighting. And I know the American servicemen who were injured they benefited from the work that was being done there. But there, of course, is a fabulous wartime movie tells the story of the Guinea Pig Club that I remember watching as a kid, and probably you could find on YouTube if you looked, but tells the full story of this marvelous doctor and his ability to not just repair the wounds, but bring these men back into society. And I think that was perhaps his greatest achievement.
It just sounded
no doubt.
incredibly painful, having to stand still, not move, to let your skin get to the point where it can be grafted to be made into a new. Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
wow.
these nowadays. I mean, having undergone skin grafting myself, it's a very different thing nowadays, and done very quickly and easily. But in those days, they literally grew a tube of skin, which was maintained his blood supply by being attached to your body at both ends, which made them all look very weird. So they kind of look like elephant men. And it was in this case, while they were like, this took 6 weeks or more to grow this skin, that they would wander off into town and go and visit the pubs and shops and things. And the people of East Grinstead, it became such a common sight that I think they realised that they were wounded heroes and took them into their hearts, which was another marvellous thing about that part of London. That it became famous. There are monuments to them in East Grinstead if you go there now, which is fantastic.
Wow.
That's great.
Speaking of doctors, I failed to mention John Brown, the pilot and host, and his lovely wife, Brenda Scott. He's a doctor, general practitioner, and a pilot. And I think almost better than both of those things is that he is an amazing musician. That piano that you heard in that recording was his, and then, of course, his wife, I think... Liz mentioned that was Brenda singing in the background, and I had the best time over there because I was singing all the time and standing behind the piano and trying to do as nice a job of singing. And of course I couldn't play. Well, I did actually play with Brenda, play piano with Brenda. Parts on the piano. There's a little recording of that too. And anyway, had a great.
And roasted coffee.
And he roasted coffee, and he was going to make some bread too, but they lost some power during a thunderstorm one of the nights. So anyway, just a renaissance.
Well, he did a better job
talents,
than I did of imitating a bunch of drunken RAF pilots.
So that's, thank you for saying that. So obviously I recognized, or not obviously, but I did recognize, I think most of the people listening, boy, maybe let me have another sip of beer. Most of the people listening recognized your voice, Captain Nick, your singing voice there. But who did you recruit to be your background singers?
Well, that was all me. I
noticed. Yeah, I noticed. It was, and I thought that was really, really nicely done. Where you have the lead boys and then the other guys are drunkenly trying to keep up. It was a perfect effect. Perfect.
I thought it was the 4 QFIs.
Yeah.
That would have been a great idea. I did actually put an appeal out on Facebook for a choir to have a go at singing that song, but unfortunately there were no takers, so I had to do it myself.
I'm disappointed.
Expertly done.
Yeah,
very nice.
We've got your Grammy.
The Grammy's on the way. Absolutely. I'll be proudly displayed back there with those nice tails.
Well, thanks very much. Marvelous.
Very, very well done as usual. And so now it is time for us to. Nope, I don't know. I accidentally pushed the button. Sorry. Now it's time for us to do as much feedback as we can in the remaining time on our show. And here's the feedback bumper.
Captain, incoming message.
You see that, Captain Nick? Peter is asking about the title of the movie.
Yeah, I'm just checking. It is actually called The Guinea Pig Club.
The Guinea Pig Club.
The Guinea Pig
Apropos,
Club.
I would say.
Yeah.
I see it on IMDb.
Okay. Well, I think we're going to start with this piece of feedback. It's audio feedback, and it's a promotion for an aviation meetup in Down Under. So let's have a listen to that. Nope, that's not it.
Oops,
Yeah.
sorry.
Oh, that was perfect, though. Great
Thanks.
sound effect, Captain Nick.
Yeah, no problem.
Let's see. I thought I had this all set up, but where is it? Right here. Okay, here we go.
Well, hi everyone. Steve Fisher here from Plane Crazy Down Under, Australia's aviation show.
And I'm Grant McCarran from the same damn show.
And I'm Brian Coleman, not from Plane Crazy Down Under.
Hang on a minute. Who was that guy?
I don't know. Someone seems to have snuck in on the recording. I think it's Brian. Oh my God. Hi.
It's a global traveler. Yeah. Thought I'd decide to crash your party.
Brian, you're doing some global traveling.
I am. I am so looking forward to seeing you guys at the Gold Coast.
Yeah, despite our best efforts, Border Control's going to let them in, apparently. So we're all going to get together for the Pacific Air Show Gold Coast.
Yeah, since you guys wouldn't come to the version up here in the Northern Hemisphere at Huntington Beach, I had to come all the way down to Australia and visit you guys.
I know. We appreciate the effort, and it's going to be on the 16th, 17th, and 18th of August, so not far before Huntington Beach. Please let us know if you're going to be at the show, because we're going to organise a few meetups and catch up with people.
And Grant, how's the best way for people to let you know?
Well, I'm going to let Steve answer that one because he tells us every show.
Yes, that's exactly right in my big radio voice. Contact at planecrazydownunder.com, folks. Let us know if you're going to be there. The Gold Coast, it's going to be fantastic. And boy, Grant, I'm looking forward to getting out of this freezing Melbourne weather.
And I'm looking forward to meeting up with everyone because I'm sure beer will be involved. And Steve, who's paying for the beer this time?
Well, it's not me. I'm Dutch.
Well, I guess it's going to be Brian because, hey, exchange rate in your favour.
Oh, we'll see how that goes.
Not too late to get your tickets, folks. Head on down to the Gold Coast and we will see you all there.
All right, you heard it. Gold Coast, meetup, air show. I mean, what else could you want? So if you're listening to this,
beer. Lovely part of the country.
Beer.
Yeah, beer. Yeah, forgot that. That's the most important part of all that. The 16th, I believe, of August. Oh, okay. I need to go back to this. Yeah, is that in there?
Yeah, Gold Coast.
Okay, the Pacific Air Show Gold Coast event in mid-August. I think they said the 16th, and we're hoping to meet up with listeners from our shows and yours, plus a couple of others who may be there. We've recorded a promo. Okay, that we just played that, and yeah, and I think Grant was saying he was jealous as hell that Jeff will be at Osh 24 while I'm stuck down here in Oz and still dreaming of a lotto win. Oh, well, better luck next year. Yeah, I hope they make it up next year. Have a
We're
blast.
all dreaming of a lotto win. It's fine. Great.
Yeah. Have a blast and say hi to those attending who know me. Okay. So we did that and meant to play it on our live broadcast at Osh, but we just kind of got lost and unorganized. So there you go. So if you're listening to this and you're down that way and you're attending the Pacific Air Show Gold Coast event, make sure that you head over there and or listen up to information about the meetups. All right, we're going to move to feedback number 13. And this is from Anonymous. APG crew, in a couple of your previous episodes, you mentioned news clips about Southwest 737s getting too low during approaches, one in OKC, the other in TPA. Let me start off by saying the NTSB has not come out with a report, so any speculation on my part may be wrong. Also, I don't claim to be perfect. Finally, I think Miami Rick would do a far better job at explaining this than I would, but it seems to be busy lately with this thing people call work, in quotation marks. Yeah, I don't know, it's a foreign word to me now. First, most, maybe all, US 121 carriers now require pilots to load and approach if available. In both cases, I believe the aircraft were using RNAV GPS approaches, as that is all that was available to those runways. A few basics about the Boeing mode control panel. Most of my time is in the 747, 757, and 767, but I do have some 737 time as well. All the aircraft have similar MCPs, mode control panels. I'm not going to go into the weeds on the MCP, but just basics. There are 3 vertical modes, or 4 if one includes approach mode, which is for the ILS. We'll ignore that one since it's not a factor here. Vertical speed mode lets you control vertical speed with the thumb wheel, and the autopilot will capture whatever altitude you put in the MCP, as Miami Rick mentioned earlier. Vertical speed mode. What?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Vertical speed mode is, or am I? Is kind of dumb and does not provide airspeed protection. So if climbing, this mode can climb you into a stall, or if descending, overdoes the flaps. Yeah, the L-1011 has that as well, and I got close to one of those situations actually myself. The next flight
only
mode,
once.
Only once. Yeah, and it wasn't me flying. It was the captain, and I warned him. I said, okay, something about the airspeed and rate of climb, and he kind of said, okay, I know. And then finally, I didn't have a chance to warn him a second time. I just made a radio call to Fort Worth Center asking for a lower altitude. Thankfully, I
gave
did
it
that,
to you,
and they gave it to us, and nobody was talking at the time. Yeah, it was an interesting.
So before we move on, as long as we're here, so the vertical speed mode, that's true. It doesn't give you speed protection to some degree, because for example, in a climb, I climb in vertical speed all the time. When I do step climbs, 500 feet a minute, that's fine. It can do it no problem. Where it does not protect you as far as speed, getting slow, is when you request a vertical speed in excess of what maximum power the engines can provide for the current conditions. That's where you start getting slow. On the fast side of things, you can also, request I descend in vertical speed all the time. Actually, I rarely use flight level change because I like a constant speed descent. Based on ground speed and Mach and miles per minute and track miles and all that stuff, but that's a little too advanced right now. So if you start getting fast, say 2,000 with a clean airplane, about 2,000 to 2,500 feet a minute, you'll start to creep up. The speed will start to creep up. So the way to keep that in check is by putting a little bit of speed brake out and keeping the speed in check. Now, if your descent rate is higher than what the speed brakes can hold off, then obviously you'll start accelerating even with the speed brakes out. So that's in that sense, it doesn't provide speed protection. But if you stay on it and you request a rate of descent or rate of climb within the capabilities of the devices to give you either thrust going up or drag coming down, then yes, you can keep the speed in check. But the vertical speed mode, just as a standalone, does not provide you with speed protection. Yeah,
So-
if that made sense at all.
It does, and
Yes.
Well,
Nick.
Go ahead, Steph.
Captain Nick. Oh, Captain Nick was shaking his head that it did not make sense too.
Not to an Airbus pilot, no.
No, well, that's a whole different thing.
You can always tell a Boeing pilot to come to the Airbus because that's the first thing he grabs is vertical speed. And the average Airbus captain is going to slap his hand.
Okay.
Well, it's it's funny because on it's like you said, like the gentleman here says, the on Boeing's on the remote control panel it's a thumb wheel. On Airbuses it's an actual knob.
Yeah,
But,
I've never quite. They just didn't want to copy Boeing. I always thought a thumb wheel was a much more logical control.
I mean, yeah,
vertical
it
speed.
makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, but that's because you got there first.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
On the
1903 and the whole thing.
On the 727, there were at least the version that Delta flew, no auto throttles. So your speed protection is your hand
your
on the
hand.
throttles.
Right.
And
Very good.
so vertical speed, I got so used to flying an airplane with vertical speed because I could do it. I guess that Rick does it for the same reason. You can fly the airplane so much more smoothly in the vertical mode, in vertical speed. And I
That's
actually...
because you got lousy autopilots.
Well, okay.
Well, the I never flew the 7.2, but I don't. But the autopilots that on the Boeing that I've flown, I mean the 777 and the 74-8 autopilots, they're just spot on. I tell you, those things are.
Well, I flew airplanes that weren't. And
come on, the L1011, the TriStar
Well,
must
that's
have been
true.
beautiful.
Yeah, that was the exception. But most of my time were the 727 and the MD series, and the way I flew the Mad Dog and the 717 was like the 727. And so I'd love to use vertical speed and descent mode, as Rick was mentioning. And as he also mentioned, the autothrottle system usually doesn't kind of keep up with or bring the power back enough to keep from letting the speed creep up. And so my solution was to just turn the throttles off and fly that airplane like a 727, which sometimes made my fellow pilots uncomfortable. I could just tell. But I said, "Don't worry, I'm just flying it like a lot of hours that I have, just the way I'm used to flying it really smoothly," and and it worked great.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
Anyway, shall we continue with the?
Yes, sir.
All
Apologize
right.
for the interruption.
No problem. That's a good clarification. The next mode is flight level change, commonly referred to as flitch, since the button is marked FLCH. Flitch will give some airspeed protection, but its use is prohibited below 1,000 feet. This is a limitation and is stated several times in the flight manual. We will see why. The last mode is VNAV, and for those who don't have an autopilot with a version of this, it's the cat's meow. VNAV will take airspeed and altitude information from the flight computer and develop a path that the autopilot and autothrottles will seamlessly follow. In scenarios where you have an RNAV arrival linked to an RNAV approach, the autopilot autothrottles will follow that path from flight levels to approach minimums, with the pilot only needing to add flaps and gear and perhaps intervening in speed if necessary. If an intermediate altitude is set in the MCP, the autopilot will honor that altitude. But if TDZEZ is set...
Touchdown zone? TDZ, what? What'd you say?
TDZEZ. I don't know. Is set
Touchdown
in the
zone
MCP.
elevation. I feel like there's an extra Z.
I don't know. He didn't. He was really good at providing explanations for what these acronyms stand for until now. Thank you, Mr. Anonymous or Mrs. Anonymous. But if TDZEZ is set in the MCP, I'm in Canada. The TDZEZ is set in the MCP. In the VNAV mode, the autopilot will honor altitude restrictions in the flight computer all the way down. The problem comes about if pilots are vectored off an arrival, or in the case of the approach into Tampa, the arrival does not join the approach and radar vectors are necessary. In these situations, pilots will normally go into flitch mode but must go back to VNAV no later than the final approach fix. In addition, remember, flitch does not look at the flight computer for altitude restrictions. It only looks at the MCP, the mode control panel. So if a pilot has a lower altitude set than the restriction on the arrival or approach, they must reset the mode control panel with the altitude restriction, or the autopilot will drive the airplane down to whatever is set in the MCP. To help pilots remember this is an acronym was developed that we should use at each point on an RNAV approach, LAVSFT. And it's not exactly the one I think that you were mentioning, Rick, but it's similar.
Yeah, it's these are company specifics. I mean, these acronyms are put out there by the training department. So for us is LVSA, LNAV, VNAV, speed intervention, and altitude. So that's kind of how ours
in this
work.
case, lateral mode, vertical mode, speed is necessary. FMA, let's see. Okay, the S is for speed. FMA is the F. Flight mode enunciators tell you what the MCP is doing, confirmed. And then TDZE, set if authorized touchdown zone elevation. These may vary some depending on the type of system and the airline's procedures. I'm sure the Airbus has something similar, though, of course, not as good. So my guess is that the crews were in flight level change mode instead of VNAV during the approach phase, and flight level change, doing what it's supposed to do, ignored information in the FMC and drove the airplanes towards the altitude set in the MCP, most likely touchdown zone elevation. Oh, that's pretty low.
Well,
actually.
exactly, and that's just it, because on so VNAV is only so the input from VNAV, from the VNAV vertical path guidance to to the autopilot, it's only applicable when you are on the lateral path, because the way it works is that the way a VNAV path is generated by the FMC is from a point on the runway, on the landing runway, and it extends backwards from there. It's not from where you are coming down, but backwards from the runway to where you are, and that it takes into account, you know, deceleration segment and all that other stuff. But VNAV is only it is of consequence when you are on that lateral path. And so when you go on any other lateral mode, as in when you are being vectored to the approach, you go to head and select, then VNAV really doesn't do much for you, because it really doesn't have a vertical path to follow, because you're off the lateral path. So for you to be able to follow that vertical path, you need to be on the lateral path as well. And so that's where you go into flight level change to get down to lower altitudes.
As you do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything to add or subtract, either Steph or Captain
No,
Nick?
only that I've only ever flown airplanes with mostly terrible autopilots, so most of this sounds like lovely.
Well, one of these days, Steph, if you ever do fly an airplane with a really good autopilot,
The Kodiak that I flew actually had a very nice
Oh, yeah?
working autopilot with some approximation of these modes. Yes.
Just wait until the autopilot lands the airplane for you, and you never see the runway.
Yeah, that's weird.
That'll blow your mind. Yeah.
So it's almost 1 a.m. for Nick.
Yeah, it's getting kind of late over
Yes.
there for Captain
And
Nick.
I should
Me?
let Nick get to
Where
bed,
am
and
I?
it's about dinner time here too.
Where am I?
who are you people? Why am I dreaming?
Yeah. So it's time. We would hope to get a few more feedbacks in, but we ran out of time. But I think, the Plaintail definitely was worth it, and some of our getting to know us, get all caught up was worth it as well. It's always nice to have some of our wayward guests, or not guests, but co-hosts, crew members, come and join us and make us whole again. And so I guess now we'll talk about our website, airlinepilotguy.com. Remember, it is now safe and secure. So it's okay to go over there and look at it. There you'll find information about our crew, the community calendar, we have merchandise there, and hopefully that's going to be improved in the future, hopefully soon. And we have the library. I mentioned I was going to visit with the librarian, Tiffany, and she manages that for us. So if you're a person that likes to read those things that have paper and words written on them, what are they called?
Books.
Books, thank you.
Books.
Check out our APG library. We have so much more there. Of course, more expanded information regarding each of Captain Nick's, the old pilot's plane tales, and so much more. So check it out. We're also on the social medias.
We are indeed. And here they are, all on one screen. You can head over to facebook.com/airlinepilotguy. There lots of community engagement there. Over on X, we're at APG Crew. You can find our individual handles pinned to the top of that page. If you're really searching for those show numbers, the Where's Waldo, all the puzzles that Nick puts into the weekly show artwork, that's on Instagram, instagram.com/APGcrew. You can also find the live recordings. If you missed the live recording or would like to join us when we do these, you can join us on YouTube, youtube.com/airlinepilotguy.
Absolutely. And one of the people that we hear from every week who likes to hang around showers near the recording studios.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how's that working out now that you're living on the road?
It's tight.
Okay,
not as much room.
Access to the bishop.
But you guys make it work, I hope.
We make it work. Yeah,
okay,
we have
good.
we've worked.
There's a
it out.
schedule, I think.
There's a schedule.
Yeah.
And we did see Hillel at Oshkosh and his two of his children, and really enjoyed hanging out with Hillel and his kids. And he happens, I think. Wait a minute, is he here? Wait,
There he is. I hear it.
I hear some water. Okay. Hillel, can you tell us about Slack?
Okay, but I'm dripping wet. APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas, we suggest episode and Plain Tales topics, we plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com. Or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks a lot, Hillel. All right. And also, we'd like to thank all the hard work that Liz Piper, our
Hey,
producer-
well done,
hang
Liz.
on. Yeah.
There she is.
Hey.
Well done, Liz.
Would have been easier if I'd just used the preset, but yeah. Oh well. And so thank you. Thank you to our live audience that hangs with us every week. We do appreciate you.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Neil
and-
Lambourne's still up with us. It's
Wow,
1
yeah,
o'clock
it's
in the
late
morning
there,
here.
too.
I don't know.
He's the night owl. He's the overnight, the
Yeah.
third shift guy.
He must be afraid dog. I like it.
All right, very good. And so all of you, thank you very much. We really do love you, and all of you listening, we love you too. And please subscribe and tell all your friends and send us feedback. And wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care, and God bless.
Cheers, y'all.
See you next time, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Woof, woof.
Bye, everybody. Okay.
Yay.
All
Turn
right.
off your recorder.
It's a
Now,
wrap.
quickly, Nick, you got to get to bed, but I've got a couple of titles for you. Nick
Okay, let me just
Anderson.
type them into my list.
Okay. And if anybody in the chat room has any, but these are the ones I have. PhD of piloting.
Yep.
Oh, that's good. Let me go here. Okay, the next one is bridge or runway. Bridge or runway.
Nice.
And the last one was aviation parliamentary gathering. That was APG at our Robert's Rules of Parliamentary.
I like it.
Discussion.
I can see us wearing like wigs,
Well, yeah,
you know, like
wigs.
barristers in the UK.
That's all I got.
Proper.
That's all right.
Lots of yelling.
Yeah, lots of yelling.
Yelling.
Okay.
Yeah. Go
Yes,
ahead, Nick.
good. No, I was just going to say I quite like the idea of doing a university degree
I like it too.
certificate.
Yes. I got it. All right,
One to put on
everybody.
your
Thanks
wall.
so much for
Yeah,
joining
it's
us.
like one of those.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Yeah,
See you next-
Dr.
See y'all.
Steph has a whole bunch of them behind. You know, honestly, I've been to her place, and
I have a few.
Yeah,
I
they're
have
not her
more
name.
too, but I ran out
They're
of
like
wall
other
space.
people's names. They're not. So you can't see it from here.
They're far enough away in the camera, view that you can't tell that they're stolen.
Okay. Very
Bye,
good.
everybody. See you next time.
Okay,
ya.
you're supposed to go now.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.